Chapter 1384. Zhou Jiejia entered the laboratory and briefly told Xiaoqing that a friend was looking for her. The two of them went out to eat. Xiaoqing looked at the time. It was basically time to get off work, so she didn't say anything. She agreed to Zhou Jiejia's leave and just told her to pay attention to her safety. Let's go. Zhou Jiejia walked out of the laboratory and said to Jing Xiaolu, who was in a daze, I have applied for leave. Oh, okay, let's go. Jing Xiaolu recovered and looked at Zhou Jiejia with an apologetic smile. Sorry, I was distracted. Xiaolu, you seem to have something on your mind? Zhou Jiejia noticed when Jing Xiaolu came. There seemed to be a trace of worry between Jing Xiaolu's eyebrows. Although Jing Xiaolu tried not to show it, Zhou Jiejia still noticed something. Now that she saw Jing Xiaolu's absent-minded look, she was more sure that Jing Xiaolu seemed to have something on her mind. Nothing. Jing Xiaolu shook her head. What she encountered now, even if she told Zhou Jiejia, it would be useless. Instead, it would make Zhou Jiejia worry about her. Seeing that Jing Xiaolu didn't say anything, Zhou Jiejia no longer pressed, then let's go. Let's go. Jing Xiaolu nodded and went downstairs with Zhou Jiejia. Your car? Zhou Jiejia was a little surprised to see Jing Xiaolu take out the remote control and open the BMW door. This car was the same as Yang Ming's car, but the license plate was different. Zhou Jiejia naturally wouldn't think that it was Yang Ming's car. Yang, the company. Jing Xiaolu blushed and suddenly felt embarrassed. Previously, she wanted to say that Yang Ming gave it to her, but saying it in front of Zhou Jiejia seemed to be showing off. Jing Xiaolu knew that Zhou Jiejia was Yang Ming's girlfriend, and she wasn't, so she quickly stopped and temporarily changed it to the company's. She didn't want to attract Zhou Jiejia's disgust for no reason. Zhou Jiejia was smart. When she heard the word Yang before Jing Xiaolu's words, she roughly understood that this car was most likely given to Jing Xiaolu by Yang Ming. However, Zhou Jiejia wasn't jealous of anything. It was just a car. In contrast, Yang Ming's feelings for her were far more than a car. Zhou Jiejia was grateful for Yang Ming's friendship of bringing her father out of the Charles family. Yang Ming bought it for you? Zhou Jiejia smiled slightly. She didn't want to play any riddles with Jing Xiaolu. Since he had already seen through something, there was no need to hide it anymore. No, yes. Jing Xiaolu just wanted to deny it, but she felt that she shouldn't lie to Zhou Jiejia, so she forced herself to admit it. No. Zhou Jiejia didn't pay attention to Jing Xiaolu's ambiguous tone. She thought that Jing Xiaolu was nervous because she mentioned Yang Ming. When she heard Jing Xiaolu stutter and say no, Zhou Jiejia was a little puzzled for a while. Did I guess wrong? No, yes. Jing Xiaolu quickly added. What? Zhou Jiejia was confused by Jing Xiaolu. Xiaolu, what are you talking about? This car was given to me by Yang Ming, but it was for the company. It was just that I drove it, said Jing Xiaolu. Do you like Yang Ming? Zhou Jiejia smiled and asked suddenly. Me? Jing Xiaolu was stunned and looked at Zhou Jiejia. She didn't know how Zhou Jiejia saw through her thoughts. For a while, she suddenly felt perturbed. She didn't know how Zhou Jiejia was going to deal with her. Jing Xiaolu was like a mistress who was discovered by the legal wife. She lowered her head and didn't dare to look at Zhou Jiejia. She couldn't figure out why Zhou Jiejia would ask this. If Yang Ming gave her a car, it should be Yang Ming who likes her, not the other way around. Isn't it because she likes Yang Ming? From a common point of view, this was what anyone would think. However, Zhou Jiejia was the opposite. Although what she said was true, Jing Xiaolu couldn't guess how Zhou Jiejia knew this. Did I see it wrong? Zhou Jiejia saw Jing Xiaolu's shocked and frightened look. How could she not be sure? However, she deliberately teased her. How did you see it? Jing Xiaolu was inexplicably surprised. She thought that Zhou Jiejie knew something from Yang Ming, but she didn't expect Zhou Jiejie to see it by herself. Since Zhou Jiejie saw it, then did Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun also see it? Thinking of this, Jing Xiaolu suddenly had a cold sweat. Don't worry. Zhou Jiejie saw Jing Xiaolu's cautious look and chuckled. Only I can see it. Sister Mengyan and the others don't know. Who? Jing Xiaolu breathed a sigh of relief, but she was even more puzzled in her heart. Since Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun didn't see it, then how did Zhou Jiejie see it? Could it be that she had some sort of special ability? Let's talk about it in the car. Zhou Jiejie looked at Jing Xiaolu, who stood stupidly beside the car, and was a little amused. However, Zhou Jiejie wouldn't laugh at Jing Xiaolu. Now, Jing Xiaolu was very similar to her past self. Wasn't she also paranoid and worried about personal gains and losses? Ah, okay. At this time, Jing Xiaolu also found that she stood stupidly in front of the car, which had attracted some students' attention. Originally, the BMW was more eye-catching on campus. Jing Xiaolu and Zhou Jiejie were pure and beautiful. Two beautiful women standing beside the luxury car always made some people's imagination run wild. Jing Xiaolu naturally felt these gazes and suddenly felt a little uncomfortable. She quickly opened the door of the driver's seat and sat in. Zhou Jiejie also smiled slightly and sat in the front passenger seat. Where are we going? After Jing Xiaolu got in the car, she started the car and asked Zhou Jiejie nervously. Zhou Jiejie was stunned and immediately said, Didn't you want to treat me to a meal? Ah. Meal, yes, I want to treat you to a meal. Jing Xiaolu was a little embarrassed and remembered her purpose. What do you want to eat? I will eat whatever you treat me to. Zhou Jiejie was amused by Jing Xiaolu. She seemed to be a very smart person. How could she be so stupid and confused? However, Zhou Jiejie immediately stopped laughing at Jing Xiaolu. Wasn't I the same? When I fell in love with Yang Ming, I was no less stupid than Jing Xiaolu. Oh, then I know a special Cantonese restaurant that has just opened. It is full every day. Let's go there. Jing Xiaolu thought about it and said. When this Cantonese restaurant opened, it sent a flyer to the company and gave a lot of vouchers to Ming Yang. Jing Xiaolu happened to have some in her bag. With the status of Ming Yang's security in Songjiang, these restaurants would naturally try to please them when they opened. This was not strange. Jing Xiaolu just remembered it, so she planned to try it. Okay. Zhou Jiejie was not picky about the taste of food. Although she was born in a rich environment, her father was a butler in the Charles family, and her mother's company was very busy. Therefore, Zhou Jiejie ate what she could since she was young. She did not have the habits of those young ladies. Jing Xiaolu nodded, started the car, and drove to the newly opened Cantonese restaurant. Seeing a row of cars parked in front of the Cantonese restaurant, Jing Xiaolu knew that the rumors of her colleagues in the company were not false. This Cantonese restaurant was really popular. There were so many people eating here. It was only 4:00 in the afternoon. It was not the official meal time yet, but there were already many diners. Jing Xiaolu parked the car and entered the restaurant lobby with Zhou Jiejie. The people who came here to eat were endless. The previous few people asked for a private room and then went upstairs with the waiter. Jing Xiaolu thought about it and felt that her conversation with Zhou Jiejie involved some private things. Although there were only 2 people, they should also have a private room. So, she said to the waiter at the front desk, We also want a private room. The waiter looked at Jing Xiaolu and Zhou Jiejie. When he saw that there were only 2 of them, he was a little unhappy. It was almost mealtime. The private rooms were not enough. These 2 people had to occupy a private room. It was too wasteful. Moreover, the other party was 2 women. They definitely would not order too many dishes. As for cigarettes and alcohol, it was even more impossible. Chapter 1385. Thinking of this, the waiter asked, "How many of you?" "Just the two of us." Jing Xiaolu didn't notice the waiter's intention. She still said very kindly, "A small private room is fine." "Sorry, if you want a private room, you need to make an appointment in advance." The waiter confirmed that there were only two of them, so he didn't intend to give them a private room. There was no minimum charge in the restaurant's private room, so it was not cost-effective to give it to just the two of them. Therefore, he found such an excuse to make an appointment. "Then let's sit in the hall." Zhou Jiejie didn't mind. She didn't think much when she saw the popularity here. On the other hand, Jing Xiaolu was mischievous. She used to be a waiter, so she had some understanding of the minds of these waiters. When she saw the flickering gaze in the waiter's eyes and thought of the previous group of guests, Jing Xiaolu understood. The few people before us didn't make a reservation. Why do they have a private room? They made an appointment. The waiter rolled his eyes. He didn't expect Jing Xiaolu to be so difficult to deal with. She actually noticed these details. Did they make an appointment? Jing Xiaolu sneered. Why did I hear them just ask if there were any private rooms, and you gave them one? They are the boss's friends. The waiter frowned and thought, this little girl in front of me is very observant. She even found out about this. However, he had already made up his mind not to give Jing Xiaolu a private room. If it were another male waiter, seeing Jing Xiaolu and Zhou Jiejie's beauty, he might not even be able to please them. How could he make things difficult for them? However, this waiter was an auntie in her 40s. She was a laid-off worker. The factory owed her a fixed salary, and her husband had an affair with a little vixen who took away the family's savings. Therefore, she inevitably had a bit of a cynical and twisted mentality. She came here to work because she was related to the boss. Therefore, for these two little girls who dressed like rich people, this old woman was even more deliberately difficult. Are you contradicting yourself? You said that they made an appointment, and you said that they are the boss's friends. What is it? Jing Xiaolu looked at the waiter with a smile. Why don't you call the boss out, and I will ask him? Hearing that they were going to call the boss, the waiter's face suddenly changed. Although she was the boss's relative, she knew that the restaurant had just opened and the boss was busy with social activities every day. He didn't have time. Since the conversation had already reached this point, the waiter didn't want to make a big deal out of it. He snorted and said, "Then let me see if there are any available rooms." That's more like it. Jing Xiaolu now remembered Yang Ming's words. She wouldn't cause trouble casually, but not causing trouble didn't mean that she was afraid of trouble. She still had to have these things to fight for. Jing Xiaolu took out the coupons from her bag. Previously, Bao Sanli gave her a stack of coupons. She didn't look at how much it was and just threw it in her bag. At this moment, she took it out and was ready to count how much it was so that she could order the dishes according to the amount. Jing Xiaolu also thought about it. The service attitude of this restaurant really needed to be observed. After coming here once, she didn't plan to come a second time. She would just finish the voucher in one go. There's no one in room 602. Originally, the waiter was going to find a small private room for Jing Xiaolu, but when she looked up and saw the voucher in Jing Xiaolu's hand, her face fell again. The restaurant had just opened, and these vouchers were really given out a lot. Shopping malls, parks, newspapers, and so on were all given out. These vouchers were equivalent to losing money, so when the waiter saw Jing Xiaolu take out the voucher, he was immediately unhappy. He said with a straight face, "There are no more private rooms. You can eat in the hall." "No more? Didn't you just say that there are more?" Jing Xiaolu frowned. She didn't know why this woman suddenly changed her mind. "If you use the voucher, there will be no more." Originally, the waiter thought that Jing Xiaolu was using real money to spend, so he didn't want to offend her too much, so he finally agreed to give her a private room. But now, since she used the voucher, then he didn't have to be nice to her at all. If she wanted to eat here, then she could eat. If she didn't want to eat, then she could leave. It was best to leave immediately, and then she wouldn't need to spend the voucher. Jing Xiaolu was in a bad mood. When she heard the waiter's words, she knew that the waiter was deliberately looking for trouble. She frowned. Where does the voucher say that I can't eat in the private room? Security. Someone is making trouble here. Since the waiter already knew that Jing Xiaolu was using the voucher to spend, he wasn't afraid that she wouldn't eat here. Seeing that she was still arguing here, he was a little impatient and directly called the security. For the security here, the waiter was quite confident. It was said that the boss invited them from the Mingyang Security Company. Both the black and white sides of Songjiang City were very respectful. With these people suppressing the scene, the people who came to make trouble would basically be silent. A few days ago, there was a group of little punks who wanted to eat dinner and didn't want to pay. As a result, they found the security of the Mingyang Security Company. When the little punks heard the name, they were so scared that they paid and left. Therefore, the waiter directly classified Jing Xiaolu as a troublemaker and wanted the security to drive her out. Xiaoli was the security captain here. He knew that the old woman at the front desk was a relative of the restaurant manager. Her words had some weight, so when he heard her shout that someone was making trouble, he didn't dare to neglect and quickly ran over. However, before he walked to the front desk, Xiaoli saw a familiar figure standing at the front desk arguing with the old woman. Xiaoli took a closer look. How could he not know this person? Isn't this the company's vice president, Jing Xiaolu? I heard that even Bao Sanli has to be polite to her. Her man is someone who even Bao Sanli is afraid of. Although Xiaoli didn't know about the high-level matters, he had heard the general rumors, especially the news from Mingyang Entertainment. It said that Jing Xiaolu's man was the company's chairman. Even Bao Sanli and Ho Zhenhan were working for him. Therefore, after seeing Jing Xiaolu, Xiaoli didn't dare to neglect. He even forgot what the old woman said before. He ran to Jing Xiaolu and greeted her respectfully, Vice President Jing, hello. Welcome. Jing Xiaolu looked at Xiaoli and asked with some amazement, you are? Do you know me? I am an employee of our company. My name is Li Jixing. I am responsible for the security work here. Li Jixing said quickly. Ah, it turns out that you are a person from the Mingyang Security Company. Jing Xiaolu mainly worked at Mingyang Entertainment. However, because of the recent cooperation with Bao Sanli in the new company, she had the title of vice president in Mingyang Security Company. In fact, she didn't know many of these employees. But she didn't know these employees. It was impossible for these employees not to know the vice president in the company. Sister Zhang, this is our company's vice president Jing. Why don't you arrange a private room for her? Li Jixing wasn't stupid. He heard this old woman called Sister Zhang shouting that someone was making trouble, so he ran over. On the way, other waiters told him about the situation here. It was nothing more than a guest asking for a private room, but Sister Zhang wasn't willing to give it to her. So, both sides had a disagreement. Seeing that the guest who was making trouble was actually Vice President Jing, Li Jixing immediately began to think about how to resolve the situation while greeting her. Although this Sister Zhang wasn't a good person, she was a relative of the restaurant owner after all. Although Li Jixing was under the management of Mingyang Security Company, he still had to work in other people's territory. It wasn't good to offend this Sister Zhang too much. Therefore, Li Jixing directly pointed at Sister Zhang. He wanted to see if she knew how to behave. If she was still so ambiguous, then he could only report the situation to the boss. This Sister Zhang would probably be kicked out of the door. He believed that between Vice President Jing and his relative, the boss would know how to choose. Although this Sister Zhang's heart was twisted, she wasn't a fool. When she heard Li Jixing pointed out Jing Xiaolu's identity, she was immediately scared. Never mind her, even her relative boss also wanted to have a good relationship with the boss of Mingyang Security Company. Chapter 1386. Usually, people don't even come when you invite them to a meal. If you give them a voucher, they won't even look at you. Now that a vice president of the company was willing to come here for a meal, I actually offended her. Sister Zhang regretted it. This restaurant isn't mine. Why do I have to worry so much? What's wrong with using a voucher to eat in a private room? Thinking of this, Sister Zhang immediately changed into a smiling face. She was the typical type of person who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Otherwise, she wouldn't have been so scared after her boss delayed her salary. Now that she was the front desk receptionist of a super popular restaurant, she felt that she had some authority. She liked to make things difficult for some customers who didn't seem to have high spending standards. This time, she didn't expect to kick an iron plate. She actually offended someone who even her relative boss didn't dare to offend. Vice President Jing, I'm sorry about that. I'll prepare a private room for you, Sister Zhang said to Jing Xiaolu with a smile. Her previous poker face instantly turned into a blooming flower. 602. No, VIP room 999. It's the most luxurious private room on the top floor of our hotel. Jing Xiaolu listened to Sister Zhang's words. She was both angry and amused. Looking at Sister Zhang's current appearance, Jing Xiaolu couldn't even think of being angry with her. Her identity had changed, and so had her mentality. Perhaps if it were her previous self, she might have said a few words to vent her anger, but now, she really didn't have such thoughts. However, she was still a little proud of Sister Zhang's change in her heart. However, Jing Xiaolu also knew that the reason why Sister Zhang was so respectful now was entirely because of her identity as the vice president of the Mingyang Security Company. Without this identity, how would Sister Zhang know her? All of this was thanks to Yang Ming. Without Yang Ming, she wouldn't be able to get to where she was today. Thinking of this, Jing Xiaolu's heart was even more worried. There was such a big mistake in the contract signing. If it wasn't resolved, even if Yang Ming didn't say anything, she wouldn't have the face to continue to be the vice president. There is no need for a luxurious VIP room. An ordinary one is fine. Jing Xiaolu didn't come here to put on airs. She just wanted to find a quiet place to talk to Zhou Jiejia. Since Zhou Jiejia had already guessed that she liked Yang Ming, although she didn't know how she guessed it, Jing Xiaolu felt that Zhou Jiejia was not hostile, and the relationship between the two seemed to be closer in an instant. Jing Xiaolu had the urge to complain to Zhou Jiejia. After the contract trap incident, Jing Xiaolu wanted to find someone to talk to and discuss with. She wanted to tell someone about her troubles. However, it was impossible for such a person to exist in the Mingyang company. It was impossible for Bao Sanli to exist. After all, Jing Xiaolu and him had not reached the point of opening their hearts to each other. Jing Xiaolu could not tell him her thoughts. As for her subordinates in the company, it was even more impossible. Jing Xiaolu couldn't talk to them at all. Now, she met Zhou Jiejia. In this case, Jing Xiaolu wanted to tell Zhou Jiejia about her troubles and worries. Even if Zhou Jiejia couldn't help her, Jing Xiaolu would feel better if she told her. Vice President Jing, please be magnanimous and forgive me. Please don't take it to heart. Sister Zhang was shocked after listening to Jing Xiaolu's words. She quickly said, I really didn't mean it before. Please forgive me this time. Forgive you for what? Jing Xiaolu was inexplicable when she heard it. She was stunned. What are you talking about? This. Sister Zhang looked at Jing Xiaolu's surprised look at the moment. It didn't seem to be fake. She suddenly had some doubts. I gave you a VIP room, but you don't want it. You want a small private room. Aren't you angry with me? After listening to Sister Zhang's words, Jing Xiaolu was really dumbfounded. What does this have to do with being angry? It's just the two of us. We just want to find a quiet place to talk. You can just find a small and quiet private room. I don't need a luxurious private room or anything like that. Li Jixing also heard that Jing Xiaolu was not angry to make things difficult for Sister Zhang. She really wanted a small private room, so he quickly gave Sister Zhang a look. Sister Zhang, our Vice President Jing said that she wants a small private room. You should quickly find one. Why are you talking so much? Yes, yes. Sister Zhang woke up and quickly found a private room at the end of the corridor. There should be no one to disturb them here, so she said, then let's go to private room 330. It is quieter there. I will find a waiter to take you up. No need, Sister Zhang. I will accompany Vice President Jing up. Li Jixing waved his hand to Sister Zhang and stopped her from finding a waiter. Okay. Sister Zhang nodded quickly. She had offended Jing Xiaolu. Now, she was still counting on Li Jixing to say a few good words for her. However, Jing Xiaolu didn't seem to care about Sister Zhang at all. Her previous argument was just that she wanted a quiet place to talk. As for the size of the private room, Jing Xiaolu didn't care at all. Under Li Jixing's guidance, Jing Xiaolu and Zhou Jiejie came to private room 330 on the third floor of the restaurant. This was the innermost private room on the entire third floor. There was no one else in the private room next to it, so it was very quiet. It was a good place to talk. Vice President Jing, please. Then, I will go downstairs. Li Jixing sent Jing Xiaolu and Zhou Jiejie to the private room and said respectfully. Okay, little Li, you go ahead. Jing Xiaolu waved her hand, indicating that he could leave. After Li Jixing turned and left, a waiter from the restaurant came in to help take orders. Jing Xiaolu and Zhou Jiejie had never eaten here before. Today was their first time here, so they let the waiter take charge and recommend a few specialties here. After the waiter left, the atmosphere in the private room suddenly became strange. Jing Xiaolu had something on her mind. She lowered her head and didn't speak. Zhou Jiejie seemed to be waiting for Jing Xiaolu to speak, so for a while, the private room was terrifyingly quiet. Xiaolu, why aren't you talking? Zhou Jiejie also felt the dull atmosphere, so she spoke first. Jiejie, you said before, you can see. I like Yang Ming. How did you see it? Jing Xiaolu took a deep breath. Although she felt that she was a bit abrupt, she was still very curious about how Zhou Jiejie saw through her thoughts. You are talking about this. Zhou Jiejie smiled slightly after listening. It turned out that Jing Xiaolu had been worried about this matter. Xiaolu, in fact, it's nothing. I'm not sure how I can see it, but it's just a feeling, an intuition. Ah. Doesn't that mean that Sister Meng Yan and the others can also see it? Jing Xiaolu was surprised. She was surprised by Zhou Jiejie's unusually keen intuition. That's not it. Zhou Jiejie shook her head. The reason why I can feel it is because I have also been in the same period as you and had the same problem as you are now. Oh. What do you mean? Jing Xiaolu's eyes lit up. She seemed to feel something. Is Zhou Jiejie going to give me some advice? Whether it is Chen Mengyan or Lin Jiyun, they and Yang Ming are all together naturally. There is a feeling of success when the conditions are right. Zhou Jiejie sighed. And my situation is similar to yours. We are all chasing after Yang Ming, so I can feel that your current mood is very similar to mine. However, others may not have this experience. It turns out to be like this. Jing Xiaolu's eyes widened. She didn't understand how Yang Ming and Zhou Jiejie were together. Now that she heard Zhou Jiejie's explanation, she suddenly had a feeling of sympathy. No wonder Zhou Jiejie could see some clues. This is also because she has a similar experience with me. So, you are admitting that I guessed it right? Zhou Jiejie looked at Jing Xiaolu's stunned expression and asked. Jing Xiaolu blushed and nodded. Since Zhou Jiejie had already guessed her thoughts, then it was useless for Jing Xiaolu to hide it. Besides, she didn't want to hide it. The more this kind of thing was hidden, the more disadvantageous it was for her. It was better to just admit it. Looking at Zhou Jiejie's current appearance, it didn't seem like she wanted to make things difficult for her. I have been secretly in love with him for a long time. Jing Xiaolu whispered, however, it seems that there is no progress. Chapter 1387. Jing Xiaolu's words made Zhou Jiejie somewhat puzzled this time. No progress? How can there be no progress? Didn't he give you your car and the company's vice president position? Zhou Jiejie said curiously. If he doesn't trust you, how can he entrust you with such a heavy responsibility? This, how should I say it? It's a freak combination of circumstances. Jing Xiaolu didn't hide it. I insisted on getting the car from him. You also know that Yang Ming is a very generous person. He and I are good friends. It is normal for him to ask for a car. Zhou Jiejie nodded and suddenly realized that it was Jing Xiaolu who took the initiative to ask for the car. She also knew Yang Ming's character. He didn't care about some external financial matters, so it was not a big deal to give a car out. However, Zhou Jiejie didn't say much, but quietly listened to Jing Xiaolu's words, waiting for her to continue. As for the position of vice president. As Jing Xiaolu spoke until here, she couldn't help but smile bitterly. This position of vice president is purely a freak combination of circumstances that I said before. Bao Sanli thought that I was Yang Ming's woman. So he proposed to Yang Ming to promote me to the company's vice president. You also know that even if I am an ordinary friend of Yang Ming will not object, so he acquiesced. Then I became the vice president in a daze. Although Zhou Jiejie heard Jing Xiaolu say that this matter was a freak combination of circumstances, she noticed that something was unusual. When Jing Xiaolu finished speaking, Zhou Jiejie was completely dumbfounded. Is there such a funny thing? Now it seems that I really misunderstood. It seems that there is really no progress between Yang Ming and Jing Xiaolu. However, even so, there were some things that Zhou Jiejie couldn't help with. Xiaolu, although I think of my previous self when I see you, I can't help you even if I want to. There is no possibility of reference or replication between Yang Ming and me, so you can only rely on your own efforts in matters of love. Oh. Jing Xiaolu was slightly disappointed. She thought that she could learn from Zhou Jiejie. Even if she couldn't, she could learn some experience, but Zhou Jiejie didn't seem to be willing to tell her these things. Zhou Jiejie's eyes were also sharp. Since she could detect that Jing Xiaolu liked Yang Ming, how could she not notice her disappointment at the moment? Looking at Jing Xiaolu's appearance, Zhou Jiejie smiled slightly. Xiaolu, if you are willing to listen, then I will tell you what happened between Yang and me. If you can get any inspiration, that is good. If you can get any inspiration, then it is naturally good. If you think it's useless, don't blame me. Originally, Jing Xiaolu didn't have much hope for this. After all, this was a private matter between Zhou Jiejie and Yang Ming. Who would be willing to publicize it to others? Jing Xiaolu thought, the things between me and Yang Ming, I'm afraid I don't want to talk to others casually, right? But what she didn't expect was that Zhou Jiejie was actually willing to tell her. This made Jing Xiaolu suddenly feel surprised and inexplicably flattered. Jiejie, you are so nice. Jing Xiaolu said happily, thank you for telling me so much. Zhou Jiejie shook her head. She helped Jing Xiaolu purely because she felt that Jing Xiaolu's current situation was somewhat similar to her previous situation. She struggled in the whirlpool of love every day and couldn't extricate herself. Zhou Jiejie deeply experienced this feeling of anxiety, so she was so friendly to Jing Xiaolu. Zhou Jiejie was not a jealous person. In the beginning, didn't Chen Mengyan and Lin Jiyun sincerely accept her? Therefore, Zhou Jiejie felt that after she got the happiness she wanted, there was no need to hinder and make things difficult for others. On the contrary, if she could contribute a little, it would make her feel grateful. Yang Ming and I were classmates in junior high school. At that time, Zhou Jiejie opened her mouth and slowly talked about the process of how she and Yang Ming met and fell in love. There was a fascinated expression between her eyebrows. She seemed to be immersed in this sad and beautiful love story. Jing Xiaolu originally thought that there was a thick wall between Yang Ming and herself. But now, after listening to the initial relationship between Zhou Jiejie and Yang Ming, Jing Xiaolu suddenly felt that the thick wall between her and Yang Ming was nothing. Between Zhou Jiejie and Yang Ming, there was simply a huge gap. What kind of perseverance does this girl have to finally grasp her own happiness? Jing Xiaolu was impressed and curious. She opened her eyes wide and looked at Zhou Jiejie without blinking. She listened to the story she was telling. When Zhou Jiejie said that she blocked the bullet for Yang Ming and was unconscious, Jing Xiaolu was completely shocked. For your lover, you can give up your life. How much courage does this require? Jing Xiaolu asked herself, if I were in Zhou Jiejie's position, would I block the bullet for Yang Ming? Maybe. Maybe not. Would I or not? Looking at Jing Xiaolu's unpredictable expression, Zhou Jiejie seemed to guess what she was thinking. She smiled and said, Xiaolu, are you thinking that if it were you at that time, would you block the bullet for Yang Ming? Jing Xiaolu was completely impressed by Zhou Jiejie at this moment. This girl not only had an amazing talent in computing, but she was also like a computer. She could guess and calculate the thoughts of others accurately. She was no less than a computer. I won't hide it from you. Jing Xiaolu lowered her head. In fact, from the bottom of my heart, I felt that I would block the bullet for him, but I was scared. When I thought that the other person had a gun in his hand, I was afraid that my legs would go soft. This is normal. After Zhou Jiejie listened to Jing Xiaolu's words, she did not make fun of her. In fact, even if it was me, I am a little timid when I think about it now. But in the situation at that time, it was an instinctive action. It was a subconscious action without thinking about it. I didn't know how to be afraid at that time. After doing it, I knew that the gun in the other person's hand was powerful. Ah? Jing Xiaolu was stunned. Originally, I thought that you were very bold. No. Zhou Jiejie's face was red. If I really had to think about it carefully, I'm afraid that even if I wanted to block the bullet, I wouldn't have the courage. Yeah. Jing Xiaolu nodded in agreement. Just now, I asked myself if I would block the bullet for Yang Ming if I were him. At first, I firmly believed that I would. But after a while, I was a little shaken. I was afraid. In fact, we are all the same. Zhou Jiejie said, if you had this momentary decision and thought at that time, you would have already decided what you wanted to do. How would you still have the mind to be afraid? That's true. Jing Xiaolu nodded. Jiejie, at first, I misunderstood you. I thought that you didn't want me to learn from your experience with Yang Ming, but now it seems that it won't be so easy for me to find another opportunity to block the bullet for Yang Ming. Nonsense. Zhou Jiejie said, how would you take the initiative to block the bullet? Xiaolu, let me tell you. Even if there is such an opportunity, don't be stupid. With Yang Ming's skill, we don't need to block the bullet at all. If we go up, we will be making unnecessary sacrifices. Jing Xiaolu certainly wouldn't think that Zhou Jiejie didn't want her to succeed in being with Yang Ming out of some dark heart. Since she said so, then it must be so. Moreover, Jing Xiaolu was also very familiar with Yang Ming's skill, so she didn't doubt what Zhou Jiejie said. Moreover, if Zhou Jiejie really didn't want her to be with Yang Ming, then she wouldn't have this attitude now. How would she sit here calmly and talk to me so much? Jing Xiaolu originally had some disappointment in her eyes, but at this time, there was a flash of hope. At least, my starting point is much better than Zhou Jiejie's. Yang Ming hated Zhou Jiejie at the beginning, but she was separated by a mountain, and she could finally dissolve it. What was the thick wall between her and Yang Ming? Chapter 1388. The waiter quickly sent the dishes that had just been ordered into the private room. Li Jixing must have informed the kitchen to process the dishes in Jing Xiaolu's private room first. Otherwise, with the restaurant's popularity at the moment, it was impossible to prepare so many dishes in a short time. Seeing the waiter coming in to serve the dishes, Zhou Jiejie and Jing Xiaolu also stopped the previous topic. This topic could only be discussed privately between two people. It was not good if outsiders heard it, so both of them tacitly chose to shut up at the same time. Jing Xiaolu's heart was in a mess at the moment. She wanted the waiter to finish serving the dishes quickly so that she could ask about Yang Ming. However, the waiter seemed to be endless. After the dishes were served, the waiter kept bringing dishes into the private room. Jing Xiaolu was surprised and quickly stopped the waiter who was serving the dishes. Wait a minute. Hello, what's the matter? Asked the waiter politely. Although she didn't know what kind of powerful person was sitting in this private room, Li Jixing had already told her that the service must be good, so the waiter didn't dare to have the slightest neglect. It didn't take long for the restaurant owner to call and ask her to make sure that the guests in the private room were satisfied. This time, the waiter was surprised. Why would the restaurant owner call such a small waiter like me? She didn't think that the restaurant owner would save the mobile phone number of a waiter like her. This must be found through the front desk. However, although the waiter was surprised, she didn't dare to have any objections. She quickly assured the boss that she must not neglect the guests. Then, the boss said that he had asked the kitchen to add a few special dishes and asked her to serve first. The boss immediately rushed back from outside. We didn't order so many dishes. We only ordered 4 or 5 special dishes. Why are there 7 dishes? Although Jing Xiaolu didn't remember what dishes she ordered, when the waiter introduced the dishes before, she casually ordered 4 or 5 special dishes here. She still remembered the number clearly. It was impossible for the difference to be so much. Hello, madam. This is our boss's order to give you the special dishes for free, replied the waiter politely. Free? Jing Xiaolu's expression was a little weird after hearing it. We can't eat so much for free. Okay, you tell them not to serve anymore. That's fine. The waitress hesitated for a moment, but still nodded. Although the boss had told the kitchen to add a few more dishes, the boss had also told her to serve the guests in the private room well. Since it was a request from a guest in the private room, she decided to give priority to the guest's request. Even if the boss found out later, he wouldn't blame her because everyone's starting point was the same, which was to make the guests in the private room happy. As a matter of fact, her decision was correct and had laid a good foundation for her. A person who could understand the boss's intentions in time and know how to be flexible would be a promising talent no matter where he was. Of course, this place was no exception. After the waiter Xiao Bai left, he quickly instructed the kitchen not to make any more dishes. The kitchen staff thought that it was the boss's idea, so they listened to Xiao Bai and stopped working. Seeing that there were no more dishes, Jing Xiaolu breathed a sigh of relief, but then she looked at the table full of food with a bitter smile. Jiejia, are you hungry? Let's eat as much as we can. Zhou Jiejia looked at so many dishes and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Even if I'm hungry, I can't eat so much. Xiaolu, have you encountered any trouble recently? Zhou Jiejia saw that no waitress came to disturb them again, so she continued the topic with Jing Xiaolu. Previously, when Jing Xiaolu came to the school to find her, she had a worried look on her face as if she had encountered some trouble. What she asked her to do was so strange, so it was inevitable that people would be suspicious. So it was reasonable for Zhou Jiejia to think so. Jing Xiaolu listened to Zhou Jiejia's words and sighed. I did encounter some trouble, and it is a big trouble, big trouble? What the hell is going on? Zhou Jiejia was shocked and looked up at Jing Xiaolu. You tell me and see if I can help. If I didn't guess wrong, the phone recording you asked me to help you recover should be related to this trouble, right? Zhou Jiejia looked at Jing Xiaolu with some doubts. What kind of trouble can be called a big trouble? In Zhou Jiejia's view, many troubles were nothing in the eyes of Yang Ming. Even if her father was trapped in this matter, Yang Ming would not show weakness in the face of the Charles family and could easily solve it. What trouble could Jing Xiaolu not solve? You guessed it. Jing Xiaolu looked at Zhou Jiejia with some surprise and nodded. Yes, this recording is related to this matter. This is a key piece of evidence, but I don't know if it is useful. Xiaolu, what the hell is going on? Zhou Jiejia listened to Jing Xiaolu's unclear words and was anxious, but she didn't know the reason. This kind of anxious feeling was very uncomfortable. I was deceived. I got into trouble. Jing Xiaolu had a headache when she thought about what she had encountered. The fraud she encountered was unprecedented. She couldn't find similar cases on the internet. Xiaolu, although I didn't hear what you were saying, if you encounter trouble, I think you should talk to Yang Ming first. He should help you solve it. You can't keep it in your heart. Since the last time Yang Ming rescued Zhou Jiejia's father from the Charles family, Zhou Jiejia had a blind trust in Yang Ming. She felt that no matter what, as long as Yang Ming made a move, there was nothing that could not be solved. Jing Xiaolu opened her mouth and was about to say something, but there was a knock on the door. Jing Xiaolu frowned. I want to scold someone. Can you let me talk for a while? However, she took a deep breath and didn't get angry in the end. Instead, she said plainly, Who is it? Please come in. The door of the private room was pushed open, and a fat man with a smile walked in. Xiao Bai, the waiter who served in the private room before, and Sister Zhang, the front desk attendant downstairs, followed by him. Vice President Jing, and this beautiful lady, I'm sorry to disturb you. The fat man smiled at Jing Xiaolu and Zhou Jiejia flatteringly, which extinguished Jing Xiaolu's anger of having her conversation with Zhou Jiejia interrupted. As the saying goes, don't hit a smiling person. This fat man's smiling face was about to bloom, so Jing Xiaolu naturally couldn't speak ill of him. Moreover, he came at this time with no malice. If Jing Xiaolu guessed correctly, he brought Sister Zhang, the front desk attendant, to apologize to her. Previously, Sister Zhang had some unpleasantness with her because of the private room. Although Jing Xiaolu didn't take it to heart, the restaurant owner didn't treat it as a trivial matter. He brought Sister Zhang to apologize. After all, it was also a kind of humble attitude. Jing Xiaolu had no way to vent her anger on them. I'm the owner of this restaurant. My name is Zhou Huijin. The fat man came over with a smile. Vice President Jing, my sister-in-law's third uncle's eldest sister-in-law offended you before. Please don't take it to heart. So, I brought her to apologize to you. What the hell? Sister-in-law's third uncle's eldest sister-in-law? What kind of messy relationship is this? Jing Xiaolu was directly confused by Zhou Huijin, but she didn't need to understand these relationships. She glanced at Zhou Huijin, then looked at Sister Zhang, and then smiled faintly. It's nothing. I didn't take it to heart. Xiao Bai, pour the wine. Zhou Huijin glanced at the waiter named Xiao Bai next to him and then instructed her. Yes, boss. Xiao Bai respectfully poured 3 glasses of white wine that had been prepared before and brought it to Sister Zhang. Sister Zhang didn't say anything. She picked up the wine glass and raised it in front of Jing Xiaolu. Vice President Jing, I toast to you. Please forgive me. Wait. Jing Xiaolu waved her hand and said to Zhou Huijin and Sister Zhang, Sorry, I don't drink. Vice President Jing, you don't have to drink. This is little Zhang's apology to you. Zhou Huijin quickly explained. Jing Xiaolu nodded. When Sister Zhang saw Jing Xiaolu nodding, she quickly poured the white wine in her hand into her stomach. Chapter 1389. After gently closing the door of the private room, Zhou Huijin's smiling face sank. He glared at Sister Zhang, his relative. You. What can I say about you? Okay, you don't have to be the receptionist tomorrow. Go to the purchasing department. You can only deal with those suppliers who come to ask for payment with your face. Okay. Sister Zhang thought that she was destined to be fired this time, but she didn't expect to be assigned to the purchasing department. Although she was now the lobby manager, when she went to the purchasing department, Zhou Huijin's intention was to arrange an ordinary staff position for her. Even so, Sister Zhang was already very happy. As long as she kept this job, she would not starve to death. In fact, Zhou Huijin couldn't help it. His relative was in her 40s. She was laid off from the factory, and she couldn't get a buyout. Her husband also took away her savings. She was left alone to raise a high school child. If she didn't have a job, she couldn't survive. So no matter how much he hated Sister Zhang in his heart, she was still a relative. He couldn't let her fend for herself, right? Just put her in the purchasing department. Her character was not suitable to be a leader at all. If she was an ordinary staff member, she could only show her ugly face to those suppliers. Presumably, those suppliers could only accept it. As for the vacant lobby manager position, Zhou Huijian's eyes turned and stopped on Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai had told Zhou Huijian what happened here before. Initially, Zhou Huijian was a little annoyed by Xiao Bai's unauthorized behavior of stopping the kitchen from serving food. However, when he came back and saw Jing Xiaolu, he really saw that Jing Xiaolu didn't want to be disturbed. When they went in to apologize, although Jing Xiaolu didn't seem to be too impatient, her expression was definitely not very welcoming. Especially when she finally said that she still had something to do and didn't want them to disturb her, it highlighted this point. If they insisted on sending food in, not only would it not please Jing Xiaolu, but it would also make her hate them. Therefore, Zhou Huijian's impression of Xiao Bai suddenly improved. Seeing that she was quite clever, he turned his head and asked, "Xiao Bai, right? Are you used to working in the restaurant?" "President Zhou, I am very used to it." Xiao Bai didn't understand why Zhou Huijian suddenly asked such a question, but she didn't dare to neglect and quickly replied, "It's good here." That's good." Zhou Huijian nodded. "How about this? You will take over little Zhang's position tomorrow. You will be the lobby manager." Me?" Xiao Bai opened his mouth wide in shock and looked at Zhou Huijian in disbelief. "Director Zhou, I'm just a waiter." Although Xiao Bai felt that as long as she worked hard, she would be noticed by the boss sooner or later and be put in an important position, but she didn't expect it to be so fast. She also didn't expect that she would be put in the position of lobby manager directly. Xiao Bai originally thought that if she did a good job as a waiter, she would at most be a vice foreman. If she was good, she would be able to become a foreman. However, she did not expect to be promoted to a lobby manager. That was a level higher than a foreman. What's wrong with the waitress? Zhou Huijian didn't think much of it. "I see that you're quite smart and flexible. If you're in this position, I'm relieved. Do your best, and I'll get someone to make you a costume later." "Yes, General Manager Zhou." Xiao Bai was extremely excited and nodded happily. Jing Xiaolu, who was in the room, watched Zhou Huijian go out and close the door. Then, she breathed a sigh of relief. These people really came at the wrong time. Aren't they causing trouble? Hee, Xiaolu, don't be ungrateful. If it were an ordinary guest, this manager wouldn't take the initiative to apologize. Zhou Jiejia said with a smile, "This also shows your identity and status. If it were me, I would most likely go to the hall to eat. How could I get a private room?" The more Zhou Jiejia said this, the more uncomfortable Jing Xiaolu felt. She blushed and said, "Jiejia, don't say this. All of this is actually because of Yang Ming. If it weren't for Yang Ming's company, who would other people know who I am?" Zhou Jiejia listened to Jing Xiaolu's words and didn't argue because what Jing Xiaolu said was indeed the truth. She smiled slightly and said, "So, sometimes when you encounter trouble, you don't have to bear it yourself. You have to know how to take advantage of others." "Take advantage of others?" Jing Xiaolu repeated Zhou Jiejia's words. "Yes, it's taking advantage of others." Zhou Jiejia said, "Let's continue our topic. This matter may be a trouble and a disaster for you, but for Yang Ming, it may be a piece of cake." "Jiejia, Jing Xiaolu smiled bitterly. "My situation is actually different from what you said. I can't ask Yang Ming for help, and I can't. What's the reason?" Zhou Jiejia was puzzled. "Jiejia, I won't hide it from you. A while ago, I was busy talking about a business cooperation. This was the first business cooperation I was responsible for after I was promoted to vice president, so I couldn't be more careful. I put all my energy into it," said Jing Xiaolu. Jing Xiaolu said, "Since I am sitting in the position of vice president due to a strange combination of circumstances, I have to show some results. I want to prove to Yang Ming that I, Jing Xiaolu, am not here to dawdle, but to be a person who can help his career." Zhou Jiejia listened to Jing Xiaolu's words and nodded. Yes, not only did Jing Xiaolu have this idea, but even Zhou Jiejie herself had it. The reason why she went into the tiger's den to find evidence of Wang Jitao's family's crime was to help Yang Ming. She wanted to be a woman who was useful to Yang Ming and help him in his life and career, so she understood Jing Xiaolu's idea. After Jing Xiaolu explained this, Zhou Jiejie gradually understood why Jing Xiaolu was unwilling to ask for help from Yang Ming. So, you want to solve this problem on your own so that he can see your ability, right? Asked Zhou Jiejie. Yes. Jing Xiaolu nodded, but she looked a little dispirited. Even if I am so careful, there is still a problem with this cooperation. I fell into the other party's contract trap. If I ask Yang Ming for help at this time, will Yang Ming think that I am useless? Zhou Jiejie sighed softly. Although she felt that maybe Yang Ming would not think so much, if she were Jing Xiaolu, she might not want to trouble Yang Ming because of this matter. She would want to solve it herself. This was different from her father being trapped in the Charles family. Her father was trapped because she could not solve it with her own strength, so she had to trouble Yang Ming. However, Jing Xiaolu's matter was entirely because she fell into the other party's trap due to carelessness in the business cooperation. It was reasonable for Jing Xiaolu to want to solve it by herself. Zhou Jiejie knew that it was useless to persuade her. She could only help her in other ways. Xiaolu, tell me the ins and outs of this matter. Let's see if I can help you. Okay. Even if Zhou Jiejie didn't ask, Jing Xiaolu was prepared to tell her everything. This matter had always been in her heart, and it was like a thorn pricking her nerves. Perhaps she would feel better if she confided it to someone. She had seen Zhou Jiejie's cleverness. If Zhou Jiejie could help her analyze it, it would be a good thing. So, Jing Xiaolu pondered for a while, organized her own words, and began to talk about her experience. Chapter 1390. Jing Xiaolu did not hide anything from Zhou Jiejie. Instead, she talked about how she had a grudge with Lu Jifei. Although this history was not glorious, Jing Xiaolu did not want to lie to Zhou Jiejie. After all, they might become sisters in the future. Therefore, if Jing Xiaolu lied at this time, Zhou Jiejie would definitely look down on her when she knew the truth. Moreover, although this history was not glorious, it was not too outrageous. At least, she still maintained the bottom line and did not really sell her body. She believed that Zhou Jiejie could also understand her difficult situation. Sure enough, after Zhou Jiejie listened to Jing Xiaolu's words, she did not show much disgust in her expression. Instead, there was a dumbfounded expression. Obviously, she sympathized with Jing Xiaolu at that time, but she did not comment on what Jing Xiaolu did. Jiejie, do you think that I was a bad girl in the past? Although Jing Xiaolu saw that there was no look of contempt in Zhou Jiejie's expression, she was still worried and asked. Bad girl? That's not really true. It's not easy for you to be able to keep yourself clean in that kind of situation. Zhou Jiejie sighed and shook her head. But I don't agree with what you did. No matter what, it is illegal. But, you are a girl alone. It is not easy for you to make money to support your family without any background or backing. Although Zhou Jiejie did not agree with Jing Xiaolu's way of cheating people, she also knew that Jing Xiaolu would not do this if she had other ways to make a living. Everything she did was completely out of helplessness. Jing Xiaolu listened to Zhou Jiejie and felt a lot better in her heart. She did not expect Zhou Jiejie to agree with her previous practice. If Zhou Jiejie said that she agreed with what Jing Xiaolu did, then Jing Xiaolu would not believe it. Because that was too ridiculous, right? Now, although Zhou Jiejie did not agree, she also realized her helplessness, so Jing Xiaolu was very grateful to Zhou Jiejie. At least, Zhou Jiejie did not dislike her in her heart. Jing Xiaolu nodded. Jiejie, thank you for understanding me. Not only me, but I believe that Yang Ming also understands you. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to become good friends with you and help you out when Lu Jifei found trouble with you. Zhou Jiejie smiled. Since Yang Ming didn't mind, what else did he have to mind? Moreover, Zhou Jiejia's character was still somewhat conservative. She believed that a woman should be faithful to one man. Since Jing Xiaolu could maintain her chastity, Zhou Jiejia naturally wouldn't have any opinions about her. However, if Jing Xiaolu had a relationship with another man before, Zhou Jiejia's attitude might not be as good as it was now. She didn't want Yang Ming to touch her after touching such a woman. Then I'll continue to talk about the contract. Jing Xiaolu said, in fact, this contract trap is the result of Lu Jifei's revenge. I guess that it should have something to do with him. Otherwise, you wouldn't have spent so much time talking about the grievances between you and him. Zhou Jiejia nodded. Jing Xiaolu cited Zhou Jiejia's cleverness, but it was no wonder. If this matter had nothing to do with Lu Jifei, why did she have to spend so much time talking about it? Jing Xiaolu told Zhou Jiejia in detail about how she fell into the contract trap. When she talked about the incense, Zhou Jiejia couldn't help but be surprised. There is actually such a thing? Yeah, if I had thought about it earlier, I wouldn't have fallen into this contract trap. However, this kind of contract fraud technique is unheard of. Whether it is on the internet or elsewhere, I can't find a similar case. So, I was fooled unknowingly. Jing Xiaolu sighed. If this is the case, then it's not your fault. Zhou Jiejia waved her hand. This kind of thing only appears in novels. Who would have thought that it would exist in reality? I think that even if it were anyone else, it would be impossible to guard against it. After listening to Zhou Jiejia's words, Jing Xiaolu's heart was relieved. In fact, how could Jing Xiaolu not understand this truth? It was not wrong for her to fall into this kind of unheard of method. As Zhou Jiejia said, this kind of method was impossible for anyone to guard against. Su Xiaobin and the Lu family have already discussed it, but the negotiation failed. The Jiangyan group does not intend to change the contract. Jing Xiaolu said helplessly. In this case, if they continue to cooperate, what benefits will it bring to the Jiangyan group? Could it be that their president's brain is flooded with water? Zhou Jiejia frowned and said, I think it is impossible for them not to see it. If they cooperate in this situation where both sides are hostile, what is the use of a contract? I am also wondering about this. Jing Xiaolu smiled bitterly. However, according to Su Xiaobin, the Lu family is worried that once there is a precedent of changing the contract, there will be more people looking for the Jiangyan group to change the contract. So, they will not set this precedent. They would rather continue like this. This doesn't seem to be comparable to an ordinary contract, right? Zhou Jiejia said, they are completely different in nature. I am also very skeptical, but now the Jiangyan group clearly wants to favor Lu Jifei, said Jing Xiaolu. So, the only thing I can think of is to go through legal procedures. I can only fight to change the contract through legal means. The previous cell phone recording is the evidence you collected, right? Asked Zhou Jiejia after listening. Yes, thank you, Jiejia. Jing Xiaolu had thanked her more than once, but if it weren't for Zhou Jiejia, there might not be this evidence. Don't be so polite to me in the future. Zhou Jiejia waved her hand. If you are really with Yang Ming, we are family. Moreover, I am helping you now, which is equivalent to helping Yang Ming. After all, this is a company matter. Jing Xiaolu looked at Zhou Jiejia with some surprise. She didn't expect her to say such a thing. For a while, Jing Xiaolu was excited. Zhou Jiejia, did you accept me? Jing Xiaolu's beautiful eyes flashed with a hint of surprise and joy. Although Zhou Jiejia's weight was obviously not as important as Chen Mengyan's, at least, she was the first woman to show support for her Yang Ming. It was significant. Jing Xiaolu also took the first step to success. In any case, with Zhou Jiejia as a supporter to give advice and pass the message, she was in an invincible position. But immediately, this joy was diluted by the endless sorrow in her heart. In front of her, there was still a difficulty that had not been overcome. If the contract was not dealt with properly, it was meaningless to talk about other things. AI. Jing Xiaolu sighed softly. If it were other times, she might have screamed ecstatically when she heard what Zhou Jieji said to her. But now, she couldn't be happy. Xiaolu, is there any other evidence in your hands besides this cell phone recording? Asked Zhou Jieji. Other than that. Jing Xiaolu hesitated, and a hint of sadness flashed in her eyes. Other than that, there is nothing else. Jieji, you also know that the other party's behavior is too strange. In this case, it is difficult to find any key evidence unconsciously. Since this is the case. Zhou Jieji frowned after listening. Xiaolu, you have to be mentally prepared. I'm not pouring cold water on you, but this evidence is not key evidence at all. If you use this evidence to sue Lu Jifei for raping Wang Lixia, you may still win. But if you use it as the basis for changing the contract, it is a bit far-fetched. Jieji, I actually understand what you said, but now, it seems that I really don't have any other trump cards in hand. Jing Xiaolu smiled bitterly. How could she not understand what Zhou Jieji said? The odds of winning this time were very small, even if the Mingyang Security Company's social relations in Songjiang were very strong, and the Mingyang Security Company was a company affiliated with the police station. With this relationship, it could be said that Jing Xiaolu was not afraid of a lawsuit in Songjiang. But even with such a strong network, if she did not have strong evidence in her hands, it would be difficult to win this lawsuit. Thinking of this, Jing Xiaolu was a little discouraged. Am I really going to lose this time? Chapter 1391. Xiaolu, don't be discouraged. Zhou Jieji saw a flash of decadence on Jing Xiaolu's face. She was afraid that Jing Xiaolu would be discouraged, so she quickly persuaded, think about the whole signing process again. See if there are any details that can be used as key evidence. Details that can be used as key evidence that were ignored? Jing Xiaolu's eyes lit up and then dimmed again. Jieji, I have thought about this signing process many times, but, although Jing Xiaolu didn't finish her words, Zhou Jieji could also understand that there was nothing that could be used as evidence. However, Zhou Jieji wasn't discouraged. Instead, she said, Xiaolu, although I don't know much about these business contracts, there are many things that can be thought through. Let's take my computer hacking skills as an example. No matter how good a hacker is, when they commit a crime, they will more or less leave some clues that can be used as evidence. Even if they are erased, in the eyes of hackers of the same level, there are still traces to be found. Although most of them are very difficult to investigate, it does not mean that there are no traces of crime. Oh. Jing Xiaolu listened to Zhou Jieji's words and became a little interested. There was a flash of light in her mind. She seemed to have thought of something, but this idea was very vague, and she could not grasp it for the time being. Of course, I am just giving an example. Any crime will leave traces. I believe that the contract trap you encountered is no exception. Zhou Jieji said, I don't believe that Lu Jifei is a criminal master. I think he thought of this contract fraud on the spur of the moment. It's just that the criminal technique is too strange, so we can't find a breakthrough with ordinary means. But if you pay attention, you may find something. After Jing Xiaolu listened to Zhou Jieji's words, she couldn't help but fall into contemplation. She wanted to grasp the previous flash of inspiration, but it was somewhat vague. After a long while, Jing Xiaolu finally shook her head slightly. Indeed, any crime will leave traces, but I was one step too late. When I found out that something was wrong with the contract, I rushed to the conference room of the Huihai Business Club where the contract was signed. Everything there had been cleaned up by Lu Jifei's people. Even the windows were opened. The residual smell of incense in the conference room was completely removed. There was no trace at all. Nothing was left behind in the meeting room. There is nothing, but not necessarily. Zhou Jieji lowered her head and thought for a moment. Isn't there still the fake contract that was changed? Isn't the contract in our hands? The contract. That's right, the contract. Jing Xiaolu patted her smooth forehead. She finally caught the glimmer of light from before. That's right. What she thought of before was the contract. There seemed to be a voice in the dark telling him that this contract would be the key to victory or defeat this time. It would become his final trump card. Contract. Jing Xiaolu's voice was a little surprised. Jie, thank you. Xiaolu, have you thought of a solution? Seeing Jing Xiaolu's happy expression, Zhou Jie was a little stunned. She thought that Jing Xiaolu had found a breakthrough, so she quickly asked. Not yet. Jing Xiaolu shook her head. Although she hadn't thought of how to use the contract, she had a firm belief in her heart. Zhou Jie was right. Any crime would leave traces. Whether she could find this key trace depended on this move. But I have a feeling that this contract will be the breakthrough of this matter. That's good. Seeing that Jing Xiaolu had regained her confidence, Zhou Jie was happy for her from the bottom of her heart. She was really afraid that Jing Xiaolu would give up on herself. Jie, I have to go back. I want to take a good look at the contract. Let's eat here first. When the matter is solved, I will treat you to a big meal. How about it? Jing Xiaolu couldn't wait to go back to the company. Her confidence had never been so full. She firmly believed that she would be able to find something this time. Okay. Zhou Jie's appetite was not big. In fact, she had almost eaten when they were chatting before. She also knew that Jing Xiaolu must be focused on the contract now. She had no time to continue eating, so she did not stop her. Next time, I will treat you. I can't always let you treat me, right? That's good. It's a deal. Jing Xiaolu did not refuse. In fact, it did not matter who was treating between her and Zhou Jie. Both of them were not short of money now. Eating together was nothing more than promoting the relationship between both parties. Jing Xiaolu naturally would not be entangled in these small details. Zhou Huijin did not expect Jing Xiaolu and Zhou Jie to finish eating so quickly. Jing Xiaolu just said that she had something to talk about. Zhou Huijin thought that Jing Xiaolu and Zhou Jie would talk for a few hours, but they walked out of the private room in less than half an hour. President Zhou, how much is it in total? Jing Xiaolu saw Zhou Huijin standing in the lobby, so she opened her bag and took out the voucher. Vice President Jing, you. Is there anything you are not satisfied with? When Zhou Huijin saw that Jing Xiaolu finished eating so quickly, he thought that she was dissatisfied with the restaurant. When he saw that she wanted to pay the bill, he was even more in fear and trepidation. His previous attitude had already made it clear that this meal was his treat. There was no need for Jing Xiaolu to spend money, but now Jing Xiaolu wanted to pay the bill. What did this mean? Jing Xiaolu was slightly stunned by Zhou Huijin's words, then she asked, President Zhou, why do you say this? I am already very satisfied with your service. Is there anything I am dissatisfied with? Then, you are leaving so soon, and you want to pay the bill? Zhou Huijin saw Jing Xiaolu's stunned look. It did not seem to be fake, so he felt a little strange. Ah. Jing Xiaolu raised her eyebrows, and her face suddenly showed a very strange look. She was a little dumbfounded. President Zhou, this mealtime is decided by the guests themselves, right? I eat quickly, so I naturally leave quickly. As for the bill, it seems to be natural to pay the bill after the meal, right? Do you want to eat and dash? What Jing Xiaolu said was the normal truth. How could Zhou Huijin not understand it? But at this time and place, Jing Xiaolu's normal approach made Zhou Huijin think that Jing Xiaolu was dissatisfied with him. Vice President Jing, so, you are really not angry? Although Zhou Huijin saw that Jing Xiaolu's face did not have the slightest anger, he still asked with concern. Why would I be angry? Jing Xiaolu looked at Zhou Huijin helplessly. President Zhou, I just came here to have a meal. I have to go back to the company. Did you misunderstand something? At this point, Zhou Huijin was completely relieved that Jing Xiaolu really did not have any dissatisfaction with the hotel, so he said, Vice President Jing, I'm sorry. Blame me for thinking too much. Then, as an apology, I will treat you to this meal. It was no wonder that Zhou Huijian would be like this. Before he opened this restaurant, he opened a Cantonese restaurant in Mount Jing. He was a southerner who did business in the north. He had no backer and foundation. He could expand his business entirely by his own efforts and diligence. However, because of a small matter, he offended the local tyrant of Mount Jing, the Sui family. He thought it was a trivial matter, so Zhou Huijian did not take it to heart after he apologized. As a result, trouble came one after another. First, the supplier who had worked with him for many years refused to pay on credit. He had to pay in cash. This was nothing. With Zhou Huijian's current strength, he did not lack this money. However, there were some officials who came to the store every day to check. Although Zhou Huijian had already bribed them before, these people still came to the store at this moment to pick and choose. Fortunately, Zhou Huijian's store did not have any major problems, so these people could not find any flaws. After 13 rounds of trouble, they all left. Chapter 1392. However, this was just a prelude. It was nothing. The big trouble was still to come. These were all normal means, so Zhou Huijian couldn't find any reason. After all, whether it was the raw material supplier's request to settle the payment first or someone investigating the hygiene situation in the store, these were all within the normal range. But what happened next was beyond the normal range. Every day, a group of migrant workers came to the store and filled the hall. Each person asked for a cold dish and began to drink beer. A bottle of beer and a plate of cold dishes were drunk from the opening of the restaurant in the morning to the closing time in the evening. Even if the hall was only filled, the private rooms were empty. However, many people who came to the restaurant to eat directly turned around and left when they saw this situation. No matter how Zhou Huijian explained, the customers no longer came. It couldn't be helped. Zhou Huijian could only persuade these men to stop eating here. After all, they came to eat. Although they ate less and took a long time, it was not illegal. Zhou Huijian really couldn't do anything to them. He could only beg for mercy. In fact, Zhou Huijian also faintly understood that these people had the Sui family behind them, but it couldn't be helped. The Sui family had a big business in Mount Jing. Zhou Huijian, an outsider, couldn't afford to offend them. Under good persuasion, these migrant workers finally spilled the truth. They came here to work because they were hired. They didn't need to work and get paid. They could make money just by sitting for a whole day. Who didn't want to do this kind of work? In desperation, Zhou Huijian had to find the Sui family's people to intercede. He didn't expect that just because he offended the second generation of the Sui family, it would cause such a big trouble. However, the Sui family's people didn't let go at all. They obviously wanted to kill Zhou Huijian. Provoking the Sui family's prestige in Mount Jing made the Sui family have the intention of killing the chicken to scare the monkey. So, no matter what Zhou Huijian said, they didn't change their original intention. Zhou Huijian couldn't be helped. He had to end the restaurant's business, sell the house, and leave Mount Jing. This matter ended with the Sui family's victory. Zhou Huijian left Mount Jing sadly and opened the restaurant in Songjiang. Zhou Huijian inquired in advance. This place was not under the Sui family's sphere of influence. This was Bao Sanli's territory, so Zhou Huijian was relieved to reopen the restaurant here. Moreover, in order to prevent the recurrence of the tragedy, as soon as Zhou Huijian's restaurant opened, he went to the Mingyang Security Company. Zhou Hua. Although the Mingyang Security Company was a big company, they might not be interested in his vouchers. In fact, no senior executive of the Mingyang Security Company had taken these vouchers to the restaurant for a long time. This made Zhou Huijian slightly disappointed. However, Zhou Huijian felt that as long as he tirelessly delivered vouchers every now and then, even though it wasn't enough to make people look at him in a different light, at least he could get familiar with him. This voucher was not worth a lot of money, but it was not a bad thing to be too polite. Zhou Huijian was a person who had suffered a big loss in Mount Jing's Sui family. As the saying goes, you learn from your mistakes. For the big forces in these cities, Zhou Huijian didn't dare to neglect. Otherwise, if he repeated the same mistake, he wouldn't even know how he died. However, before Zhou Huijian came to Songjiang to do business, he also inquired and understood a few of Songjiang's local friends who had a good relationship with him. He knew the background and reputation of the Mingyang Security Company very well. The boss of the Mingyang Bao, an industrial company, Bao Sanli, used to be a big gangster in Songjiang. However, he later turned over a new leaf and engaged in a proper industry, establishing this Mingyang Security Industrial Company. However, this person's influence in Songjiang's underworld was quite shocking. If one wanted to do business here in Songjiang, it was impossible to offend Bao Sanli. However, the reputation of the Mingyang Security Company was exceptionally good. He learned from a few business friends that although the fees of this Mingyang Security Company were more expensive than other small security companies, it was indeed worth it. The bosses of the entertainment industry in Songjiang City had a bill in their hearts. Although the cost of the security personnel hired by the Mingyang Security Company was higher than the ordinary scattered security personnel, once there was a problem, they would really solve it for you. Before the Mingyang Security Company's security personnel were hired, these entertainment industry bosses also recruited some security personnel themselves. The salary was indeed low, but these people were typical masters who bullied the weak and feared the strong. Usually, when they saw the weak, they dared to say a few words. If they really encountered the gangsters, they immediately became timid and hid in the side and didn't dare to make a sound. After changing to the Mingyang Security Company's security personnel, this situation was gone. As long as it was a small gangster in Songjiang, no one dared to make trouble in front of the Mingyang Security Company's people. As long as the Mingyang Security Company's people were present, no matter how fierce they would immediately be honest. Therefore, the amount of money needed to hire security guards was negligible. If it weren't for these people, the gangsters would have destroyed more than this amount of things. After learning this news, Zhou Huijian went to the Mingyang Security Company to hire 20 security personnel before his restaurant opened. It was reasonable to say that this was a restaurant, not a nightclub or an entertainment city. He didn't need so many security personnel. 10 were enough. However, Zhou Huijian didn't lack this money. In his opinion, this was nothing. When he opened the shop in Mount Jing, not to mention giving gifts to the Sui family, even dealing with the local bullies on the streets cost more than this amount. So even so, Zhou Huijian's heart was not at ease. As a matter of fact, although he hired a lot of security personnel, they were also working for him formally. Therefore, Zhou Huijian still felt that he should build a relationship with the Mingyang's senior management. He had suffered a loss before, so this time he felt that he should be careful. As long as he built a relationship, even if he accidentally offended them later, he believed that they wouldn't be as ruthless as the Sui family. After all, with a friendship, it would be easier to talk. It was just that Zhou Huijian didn't have the opportunity to contact the senior management of the Mingyang Security Company. He was an outsider who was unfamiliar with the place. How could he build a relationship? Just as he was worried, he didn't expect a ready-made opportunity to come to him. However, what made his intestines turn green with regret was that before he could build a relationship with them, his sister-in-law's third uncle's sister-in-law had offended a vice president of the Mingyang Security Company. Although a vice president of a company might not be able to set off any waves, this matter should be resolved under his apology. But what made Zhou Huijian shocked was Jing Xiaolu's age. In Zhou Huijian's opinion, Jing Xiaolu was at most 25 years old. It was a bit strange to sit in the position of a vice president at this age. At this time, there were only two things in Zhou Huijian's mind. One was that this Jing Xiaolu was a rich second generation, and the other was, she might be the lover of a big boss in the Mingyang Security Company, so when Zhou Huijian thought of this, he didn't dare to neglect. His attitude became more respectful, so Zhou Huijian didn't do anything while Jing Xiaolu was eating. Since Jing Xiaolu didn't want him to disturb her, then he would wait for her in the hall. After she finished eating, he would say a few good words. Most probably, this matter would come to an end, right? Zhou Huijian sighed in his heart. If my sister-in-law didn't have an affair with me, why would I care about her third uncle's sister-in-law? It's really harmful. I have to teach my sister-in-law a lesson when I go back tonight. I won't let her introduce just anyone to me. Seeing that Zhou Huijian insisted on treating her to a meal, Jing Xiaolu had a headache. President Zhou, this voucher is also issued by you. I will use this voucher to pay the bill. It's also your treat, right? This. Of course, of course. Zhou Huijian saw that Jing Xiaolu insisted, so he couldn't say anything more. He turned to Xiao Bai and said, Xiao Bai, why aren't you calculating for Vice President Jing? Okay. Xiao Bai nodded quickly. He tapped a few times on the computer and said, Vice President Jing, you spent 316 yuan. After the discount, I will charge you 300 yuan. Jing Xiaolu smiled slightly and handed over the 300 yuan voucher. Xiao Bai quickly took it respectfully and put it into the wallet of the cash register. Zhou Huijian gave Xiao Bai an appreciative look. In fact, there was no discount when using the voucher, but Zhou Huijian didn't want to trouble Jing Xiaolu for a long time because of 16 yuan because there were only 100 denomination vouchers. There was no small amount. If he wanted to pay, he could only pay another voucher. But in that case, it would inevitably make people feel that there were some overbearing terms. Although it was nothing for ordinary diners, since the voucher was free anyway, Zhou Huijian was very concerned about Jing Xiaolu's thoughts. Chapter 1393. Little White, give another 1,000 yuan of vouchers to Vice President Jing. Zhou Huijian instructed Little White. Little White did not doubt it at all. He opened the drawer, took out 10 vouchers, and handed them to Jing Xiaolu together with the previous bill. Vice President Jing, this is your bill and vouchers. Give me another 1,000. Jing Xiaolu looked at the vouchers handed over by Little White and suddenly didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I just ate 300 yuan worth of food, and what I spent was also the vouchers. Now, he gave me another 1,000 yuan of vouchers. The more I eat, the more I get? Jing Xiaolu felt a little funny when she thought about it. Vice President Jing, don't misunderstand. I am not forcing you to eat. I just think that it is our honor that you can come to the restaurant to eat. Your presence brings light to our humble dwelling. Zhou Huijian quickly explained, Vice President Jing, just take it. You won't look down on me, right? President Zhou, you. Jing Xiaolu shook her head helplessly and had to accept it, but she still said, President Zhou, I will remember your enthusiasm. Let's do it this way. I will leave you a business card. If there is anything, you can contact me at any time. Okay, okay. Zhou Huijian was overjoyed after hearing Jing Xiaolu's words. He was so excited that his tone changed. He took the business card that Jing Xiaolu handed over with trembling hands and carefully put it in his jacket pocket. He also handed over his business card with both hands. Vice President Jing, although there are very few places that you can use me for, I will definitely do everything for your relatives and friends, such as a gathering, a wedding banquet, or a meal delivery during the New Year's festival. Then I may really need to trouble President Zhou in the future. Jing Xiaolu smiled and nodded to Zhou Huijian kindly. At this point, Zhou Huijian breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. It seemed that what he had done before finally had an effect. Jing Xiaolu not only did not hate him because of Sister Zhang's previous matter, but she also had a relationship with him. Of course, although Jing Xiaolu was beautiful, Zhou Huijian did not dare to have any improper thoughts. He did not dare to touch this kind of woman. If he had time, he should go home and touch his sister-in-law. Although it was a far cry from Jing Xiaolu, Zhou Huijian was already very satisfied. Right, Vice President Jing, my brother opened a resort in Donghai. You can fish in the summer and ski in the winter. If your company wants to organize a fellowship party or something, I can help to contact you. Zhou Huijian hesitated and said, in terms of cost and service, it will definitely be the best. Zhou Huijian also knew that if he said that he didn't want money, Jing Xiaolu would definitely not agree. From the previous matter, it could be seen that Jing Xiaolu was not willing to take this kind of small advantage, especially in the company's matters. There was no need to take this kind of advantage and owe a favor. As long as the price was good and the service was good, she could win the favor of others. Alright, if we have any requests in this regard, we will definitely contact you, Director Zhou. Jing Xiaolu nodded. General Manager Zhou, I still have something to do, so I'll leave first. Let's talk some other time. Okay, Vice President Jing, I will send you off. Zhou Huijian said quickly and accompanied Jing Xiaolu out of the restaurant. After getting in the car, Jing Xiaolu smiled bitterly and breathed a sigh of relief. Jejia, you also saw that these are brought about by Yang Ming's power. If I don't work hard, the gap between him and me will get bigger and bigger. That's true. Then I wish you to solve the trouble in front of you as soon as possible. Zhou Jejia said, Xiaolu, you quickly go back to the company and think about the contract. I will take a taxi back to school. Don't. I will send you off. Jing Xiaolu grabbed Zhou Jejia, who was about to get out of the car. It's so late. How can I let you take a taxi back? If something happens to you, Yang Ming will kill me. No need. When the time comes, you can compensate Yang Ming with yourself. 1 for 1. I believe he will accept it. Zhou Jejia teased. Come on. I know what position I have in his heart. Jing Xiaolu shook her head and started the car. After sending Zhou Jejia back to school, Jing Xiaolu did not stay. Instead, she quickly drove to the company alone. Jing Xiaolu wanted to seize the opportunity while she had the inspiration in her mind. Maybe she could really find something. When she came to the company, she unexpectedly found that Bao Sanli had not left. His office was still lit. When she passed by, Jing Xiaolu knocked on the door. After hearing Bao Sanli's, "Please come in," she pushed the door open. She saw that not only did Bao Sanli not leave, but Ho Zhenhan was also here. The two people were sitting in front of the sofa, looking at several documents on the coffee table. President Bao, President Ho, you are all here. After Jing Xiaolu entered the door, she nodded to the two of them. Xiaolu, why did you come to the company again? Bao Sanli was a bit baffled. I am studying the contract with Old Ho to see how we can fight back against the Jiangyan group. I'm sorry, President Bao. This is all my fault. Hearing that the two of them were still studying the contract so late at night, Jing Xiaolu was a little embarrassed. How can I blame you for this? Bao Sanli waved his hand and smiled bitterly. This contract was signed under my nose. If you want to blame someone, you can only blame me for not closing it properly. It has nothing to do with you. President Bao, that contract, is it in your hands? Asked Jing Xiaolu. Do you mean the original or the copy? The original is locked in my safe. The copies are all on the coffee table. You can just take one. Bao Sanli pointed to the documents on the table. Jing Xiaolu nodded. At this time, there was not much difference between the original and the copy. Jing Xiaolu took a copy, sat on the opposite sofa, and read it carefully. This was a contract that she had read more than 100 times. It was impossible to find any loopholes in it. She believed that Bao Sanli and Ho Zhenhan had also tried. If there was something wrong, the three of them would not be here with a sad face. After Jing Xiaolu read the contract in her hand, she gave up the idea of continuing to read it. This was useless. Even if she did it 100 times, she could not find any flaws in it. If you want to find something unexpected, you can't start from an ordinary point of view. Any crime would leave traces. Lu Luyo secretly changed the contract midway, so he would definitely leave some traces. Jing Xiaolu closed her eyes and carefully recalled the details of Lu Luyo's change of contract. The contract that Wang Hongcha and I got for the first time must be the real contract. There was no problem after reading it. These few data that I and Wang Hongcha paid attention to were imprinted in my and Wang Hongcha's minds under the effect of the incense. Lu Luyo took the contract and signed it for Su Xiaobin. Then Su Xiaobin stamped the contract and finally handed it back to her. However, in this process, Lu Luo had an opportunity to turn his back to her, and only this opportunity could secretly change the contract. She believed that Lu Luo must have replaced the inner page of the contract that Su Xiaobin had signed with the modified inner page prepared in advance. Because the last page had Su Xiaobin's signature, this page could not be replaced. Lu Luo only replaced the content in the middle. After the replacement, he stamped the contract seal. Although she had doubts at the time, under the effect of the incense, she did not see any flaws in the contract that was obviously tampered with. Wang Hongcha was the same, so she signed and stamped in confusion. After that, she handed the contract back to Su Xiaobin. Before Su Xiaobin could get it, Lu Luo snatched it. Right. Jing Xiaolu's eyes suddenly lit up. Chapter 1394. At this moment, Jing Xiaolu had a feeling that she couldn't help but want to shout out loud. In her heart, an unprecedented sense of comfort immediately filled her whole body. Her previous helplessness was replaced by a touch of joy. She said to Bao Sanli excitedly, "President Bao, where is the original copy of the contract?" "Original copy, why are you?" Bao Sanli looked up and saw the joy in Jing Xiaolu's eyes. His heart moved. Could it be that Jing Xiaolu has thought of a breakthrough? Thinking of this possibility, Bao Sanli's breathing became rapid. "Xiaolu, have you thought of a way to deal with the Jiangyan group?" "It's just a preliminary guess. Whether it is useful or not, it needs to be confirmed." Jing Xiaolu raised her eyebrows beautifully. Although she was not very sure, her words were full of confidence. Ho Zhenhan and Bao Sanli looked at each other and saw a hint of surprise in each other's eyes. The two people had been discussing here for an afternoon, but there was no progress. Jing Xiaolu found a solution so quickly. The contract in their hands had been studied more than 100 times. During this time, they had also consulted several legal experts in addition to Wang Hongcha. The conclusion they got was that there were no loopholes in the contract. It was almost impossible to make an issue out of the contract. However, Jing Xiaolu saw some clues in it. This shocked the two people. However, in addition to the shock, there were some doubts. In fact, from the bottom of their hearts, they did not believe that Jing Xiaolu found anything so quickly. After all, so many experts did not find anything. How could Jing Xiaolu find anything? Moreover, for Jing Xiaolu, the vice president, they were very clear in their hearts. It was entirely because of her relationship with Yang Ming. Moreover, because Lu Chan and Chu Daming absconded with the funds, the position of vice president was vacated. Jing Xiaolu could be promoted smoothly. As for how capable Jing Xiaolu was, Bao Sanli didn't believe it himself. It wasn't that he looked down on Jing Xiaolu, but even if Jing Xiaolu was talented, she was just a 20-year-old college student. Just from looking at their age, they were somewhat inexperienced. However, it didn't mean that they couldn't achieve anything at a young age. In those large families, many young masters and young mistresses in their teens and 20s would be placed in important positions. However, there was a fundamental difference between them and Jing Xiaolu. The reason why these children of big families could be entrusted with important tasks at the age of 20 was because they were nurtured as talents since childhood. They heard about it from a young age and grew up unknowingly. But Jing Xiaolu was different. She had been working in the company for less than a year. No matter how one looked at it, it was impossible to compare with those young masters and young ladies from big families. The original copy of the contract is in the safe here. Shall I get it for you now? In any case, whether Jing Xiaolu had thought of a solution or not, Bao Sanli did not dare to neglect. It was good to have a glimmer of hope at this moment. No need. Jing Xiaolu waved her hand. It's useless to take it out now. President Bao, do you still need to be involved in this matter? Me? Little Jade, what's going on? Can you tell me in detail? Bao Sanli was confused by Jing Xiaolu's words and looked at her with some puzzlement. Oh, yes. Jing Xiaolu touched her forehead and smiled apologetically. I haven't told you the key to solving the problem. I was too anxious, so I neglected this. Bao Sanli nodded slightly. It seems that Jing Xiaolu really thought of a solution, but I don't know if it will work. President Bao, it's like this. Jing Xiaolu hesitated and said, let me tell you first. This morning, the whole process of us signing the contract, President Ho did not personally experience it, and there may be some details that you did not notice, okay? Bao Sanli nodded. Although he did not understand why Jing Xiaolu had to repeat the signing process, his intuition told him that Jing Xiaolu would definitely not be inexplicably speaking without thinking. There must be a reason for saying this. That is, the signing process may have some subtle connection with the solution. President Bao, President Ho, what happened at that time was like this. Jing Xiaolu said slowly, after both of us sat down, the people of the Jiangyan group printed 2 contracts that we had drafted in advance. They were handed over to me, Su Xiaobin, Lu Luyo, and Wang Hongcha for review. After the review, Su Xiaobin and we signed the contract separately. Then Lu Luyo took the contract and stamped the contract special seal on it. After stamping the contract special seal, he handed the contract back to me. However, in the process of stamping the contract special seal, Lu Luyo had an opportunity to turn his back to us. Only this opportunity could he secretly change the contract. I believe that Lu Luyo must have replaced the inner page of the contract signed by Su Xiaobin with a modified inner page prepared in advance. Because the last page had Su Xiaobin's signature, this page could not be replaced. Lu Luyo only replaced the content in the middle. After the replacement, he stamped the contract special seal. Although I had doubts at the time, under the influence of the incense, I did not see any flaws in the contract that was obviously tampered with. Wang Hongcha was the same, so we signed and stamped it in confusion. After we stamped it, we were ready to hand the contract back to Su Xiaobin. At that time, Su Xiaobin had not yet gotten it, but Lu Luyo snatched it. This is the whole process of our signing. I don't know if President Bao found anything from it. What did you find? After Bao Sanli and Wang Zhenhan listened, they both frowned at the same time. The two looked at each other helplessly. Although this signing process was narrated by Jing Xiaolu, it had been narrated by Wang Hongcha many times before this. Xiaolu, you said it very carefully, but we didn't find anything wrong. Even if we know that Lu Luyo secretly changed the contract behind our backs, what can we do? We don't have evidence. All this is speculation. President Bao, what I mean by finding something is not the step where Lu Luyo turned around and secretly changed the contract. Jing Xiaolu smiled slightly. This key point is in the last step of this signing process. After we stamped the contract with the special seal, we handed the contract back to Su Xiaobin. Before Su Xiaobin could get it, Lu Luyo snatched it. What does this mean? Lu Luyo snatched the contract probably because Lu Jifei did this behind Su Xiaobin's back. Since the contract was changed, Lu Luyo was also afraid that Su Xiaobin would see any flaws on the spot after taking the contract, so he snatched the contract first. This doesn't mean anything. It only means that Su Xiaobin didn't lie to us. He didn't know before, and he was also tricked by Lu Jifei. Yes. Lu Luyo snatched the contract because he was afraid that Su Xiaobin would see the contents of the contract. It also proves that Su Xiaobin didn't see the changed contract. Jing Xiaolu nodded and said with bright eyes. Bao Sanli and Ho Zhenhan looked at Jing Xiaolu, who was full of confidence. They didn't understand why she was so confident, but the two of them didn't find anything unusual in these things that Jing Xiaolu said. Su Xiaobin was innocent. This point could be confirmed through their own arguments. Otherwise, even if Su Xiaobin participated, he didn't need to deny it. After all, the contract had been signed like this. It had reached the point of shedding all pretense of cordiality. It didn't matter whether Su Xiaobin admitted it or not. Since he still denied this at this moment and helped to deal with it in the middle, it could only mean that Su Xiaobin really didn't know before, and he was also tricked by Lu Jifei. Xiaolu, forgive me and old Ho's IQ for not being able to keep up. Bao Sanli smiled bitterly. Why didn't the two of us feel that Su Xiaobin's attitude helped solve the whole thing? Chapter 1395. Jing Xiaolu shook her head. It was not that she deliberately kept them in suspense. The reason why she described the signing process in such detail was that the solution she was going to talk about was directly related to this signing process. President Bao, President Ho, don't worry. Listen to me. Jing Xiaolu said calmly, since we can be sure that Su Xiaobin is innocent, then the whole thing has become simple. In other words, Su Xiaobin has not seen the page number of the contract that was replaced by Lu Luyo. This is for sure. Bao Sanli nodded in agreement. That's right. Jing Xiaolu's tone couldn't suppress her excitement. Since Su Xiaobin has not seen this page, then there are no fingerprints of Su Xiaobin on this page. If Su Xiaobin's fingerprints are on the other page numbers, but Su Xiaobin's fingerprints are not on this problematic page, what does this mean? Yeah. Ho Zhenhan listened to Jing Xiaolu's analysis and suddenly exclaimed, Xiaolu, I didn't expect you to even think of this. Indeed, Su Xiaobin's fingerprints are on the other page numbers, but not on this problematic page. This can't help but show that there is a problem with this page. At this moment, Bao Sanli also nodded in realization, yeah. Why didn't I think of it? In this way, as long as we carry out a forensic identification of the fingerprints on each page of the contract, as long as there is a result, coupled with Su Xiaobin's testimony, we have the confidence to win this case. Yeah, with evidence, what are we afraid of? Ho Zhenhan also let out a sigh of relief at this moment. Xiaolu, you are the vice president. You didn't get this position by relying on relationships. You are better than both Baozi and me, and you consider the problem more thoroughly. Jing Xiaolu pursed her lips and smiled, but she was ashamed in her heart. If it weren't for Zhou Jiejia's reminder that any crime will leave evidence, Jing Xiaolu wouldn't be able to look at this matter from another perspective. Maybe this key step would be overlooked. However, in any case, Zhou Jiejia only played the role of inspiration. The key was all thought by Jing Xiaolu herself. This also indirectly proved Jing Xiaolu's personal ability. Although Jing Xiaolu felt ashamed, she was very happy that both Bao Sanli and Ho Zhenhan thought highly of her at the same time. Previously, although they respected and awed her, Jing Xiaolu knew that it was all because of Yang Ming. If there was no relationship with Yang Ming, what was Jing Xiaolu? Would Bao Sanli and Ho Zhenhan greet her with a smile? However, at this moment, Jing Xiaolu knew that she could hold her head high. Her ability was finally recognized by the two big shots in the company. Jing Xiaolu wanted to become a person who could help Yang Ming's career. She didn't want to be a flower vase, so she first had to get the recognition of these two hardcore men of Yang Ming. Only when they really recognized her, they would help and support her in her future career. Then, she could go further. Otherwise, although she had the title of Yang Ming's woman, Ho Zhenhan and Bao Sanli wouldn't let her mess around in the company. If Jing Xiaolu wanted to expand her business, she would be greatly hindered. Now, this problem did not exist. If Jing Xiaolu had any suggestions in the future, Bao Sanli and Ho Zhenhan could really pay attention to it. But Bao Sanli's originally happy face slowly sank. Xiaolu, what if the other party said that we deliberately erased Su Xiaobin's fingerprints on this page? Ho Zhenhan listened to Bao Sanli's question and frowned. Perhaps, he also had this question. However, Bao Sanli, who seemed to be a rough man, could find the problem first. It was not simple. It showed that this guy was now completely different from the Bao Sanli of the past. After doing business, he had also become rough but delicate. Erase? Jing Xiaolu waved her hand indifferently. She seemed to have considered this in advance. You know, on this page, there are not only Lu Luyo's fingerprints, but also Mai and Wang Hongqia's fingerprints. Most of these fingerprints overlap at the footer of the contract. How can we erase Su Xiaobin's fingerprints alone? With this kind of difficulty, it is possible to put it in the computer and Photoshop it, but to operate it on paper. I think even those skilled craftsmen who can carve a boat on a walnut would find it difficult to do it, right? That's true. Bao Sanli nodded slowly. Of course, even if the other party thinks that we have a skilled craftsman who can do this, it doesn't matter. The key is that there is also a contract in the other party's hands. As Jing Xiaolu said this, she snorted proudly. Their contract can also be used as evidence. Their contract? Oh, yes. At that time, Lu Luo snatched the contract. In other words, the same loophole exists in the other party's contract. Bao Sanli said, their contract has a problem. Su Xiaoban's fingerprints are not on that page. Jing Xiaolu nodded. Bao Sanli was not stupid. He thought of this at once, but he still ignored another key point. I'm afraid this won't work, right? Ho Zhenhan frowned. If the other party's contract has a problem without Su Xiaoban's fingerprints on the page, isn't this too risky? What if Lu Luo also thought of this and gave the contract to Su Xiaoban to look through again? Isn't it? After Bao Sanli listened to Ho Zhenhan's words, his face changed. Yeah, this won't work. I have to call Su Xiaoban and remind him. Maybe at this time, he has inadvertently put his fingerprints on the contract. What should I do? Of course, only Jing Xiaolu's face did not change. She still had a smiling expression. Bao Sanli and Ho Zhenhan also noticed Jing Xiaolu's expression at the moment, and they were stunned. Xiaolu, do you already have a way to guard against it? Bao Sanli was not stupid. Since Jing Xiaolu's face did not change, it showed that she already had a complete means. President Bao, President Ho, you have misconsidered. Jing Xiaolu said, in fact, the contract in Lu Luo's hand, it doesn't matter whether Su Xiaoban looks at it or not, and whether his fingerprints are on it. For us, the most favorable evidence is not whether Su Xiaoban's fingerprints are on the page with a problem in Lu Luo's contract, but whether President Bao's fingerprints are on it. My fingerprints? Bao Sanli was stunned, but immediately, there was a look of realization on his face. He gave a thumbs up to Jing Xiaolu. Amazing. Xiaolu, I have no choice but to accept it. Although Ho Zhenhan did not personally attend the signing of the contract, he had listened to the signing process many times. At this moment, when he heard Jing Xiaolu and Bao Sanli, he also understood a bit. You mean, when Bao Zi signed before, he also touched the contract, but after signing it, he did not touch the contract again before the contract was stamped? Yes. Bao Sanli nodded. Although the contract review was done by Jing Xiaolu and Wang Hongcha, before I signed, I also roughly browsed the terms of the contract one by one. Although I don't know if there are any problems with the description of those terms, I still have to read the general idea of the contract before signing. I believe that my fingerprints are on every page, but only on the page that was replaced, there are no fingerprints. This is great. Ho Zhenhan reached out and slapped the armrest of the sofa on the side. With this, we are not afraid of the Jiangyan group saying that we tampered with the fingerprints on the contract. At that time, their contract will also not have my fingerprints. Let's see how they explain it. Bao Sanli smiled and said, that's right. Will they say that they took the initiative to erase it? But, isn't that just admitting that they are trying to hide something? Jing Xiaolu nodded. Her whole body leaned completely on the sofa. The tight muscles of her whole body were relaxed in an instant. This feeling was really good. Without relying on Yang Ming, she could also solve the first obstacle on her business path with her own ability. In the eyes of ordinary people, it was a big trouble. Tomorrow, I will find someone to do a forensic evaluation. Bao Sanli said with a dignified expression, our Mingyang Security is also a subordinate company of the Songjiang Police Station. Tomorrow, I will ask Bureau Chief Chen for help. Jing Xiaolu smiled slightly. She naturally knew Chen Fei's identity. As for who the real owner of Mingyang Security was, she believed that Chen Mengyan had also mentioned it to Chen Fei. How could he not help his son-in-law's company? Chapter 1396. Yang Ming could only sigh and smile bitterly at the butterfly family's current situation. Originally, it was not difficult to break off the engagement. Just as he was about to succeed, a storm arose again. Wang Songshan's sister, Wang Ruoshui, suddenly appeared. This was undoubtedly a good thing for Fang Tian. This old man's previous wife had died several years ago. Now that he met Wang Ruoshui, he would definitely revive. However, it had become a headache for Yang Ming. Wang Ruoshui was very stubborn. She didn't seem to listen to his explanation at all. She wanted to compete with him no matter what. Moreover, it seemed that the outcome would be the same whether he won or lost. Yang Ming rubbed his slightly painful temples. He didn't know how Fang Tian, Wang Songshan, and Wang Ruoshui were communicating. Yang Ming wanted to use his special ability to detect the movements of the three people, but he gave up after thinking about it. The possibility of these three people reuniting after such a long time was very small. It was nothing more than reminiscing about the past together. Yang Ming was too lazy to care about their matters. He would wait until he met Fang Tian at night to discuss countermeasures. At the same time, in Wang Songshan's study, Wang Songshan and Fang Tian looked excitedly at Wang Ruoshui, who was sitting on the sofa with a very calm expression. "Sister, it's been so long. Why didn't you send a letter home?" I thought you had already." Speaking of this, Wang Songshan couldn't help but choke because of his emotions. Looking at Wang Songshan's agitated look, Wang Ruoshui sighed faintly. Her previous indifferent expression couldn't help but be a little moved. I originally wanted to die, but I was saved by a senior. After that, I couldn't make up my mind to die." Wang Songshan and Fang Tian were shocked after hearing Wang Ruoshui's words. If it weren't for the coincidence that Wang Ruoshui was saved, the two of them would not have seen Wang Ruoshui at this time. As for Wang Ruoshui, she had died once but did not die. It would not be easy for her to die again. The human heart was like this. It was hard to make up your mind to die a second time if you didn't die once. This was human nature. "It's good that you didn't die, it's good that you didn't die." Wang Songshan couldn't help but sigh nervously when he saw Wang Ruoshui alive. "Brother. I'm sorry." Although Wang Ruoshui was already over 40 years old, she had been living in seclusion. Her mind was still that of a little girl in her 20s. At this moment, seeing Wang Songshan so worried about her, she couldn't help but be moved, revealing the weakness of a little girl. "Ruoshui, in fact, the one who should say sorry the most is me." Fang Tian sighed. Looking at Wang Ruoshui in front of him, it was as if he had returned to 20 years ago. Wang Ruoshui didn't respond to Fang Tian's words. She just snorted coldly. It seemed that the hatred in her heart towards him had not yet disappeared. But on the contrary, this hatred should also contain love. Without love, how could there be hatred? Otherwise, if he treated Fang Tian as a stranger, what did his love and hate have to do with him? When Fang Tian saw that Wang Ruoshui did not respond to him, he smiled awkwardly. His face turned red, and he looked at Wang Songshan for help. Wang Songshan also hated and was angry at Fang Tian, but he was helpless. He was the one who forced Wang Ruoshui to commit suicide, but he had the best relationship with Wang Songshan. Now, since Wang Ruoshui had returned, the knot in Wang Songshan's heart had been untied. He no longer complained about Fang Tian. Instead, he felt that it would be a wonderful thing if he could match Fang Tian and Wang Ruoshui together. So when Wang Songshan saw Fang Tian's eyes for help, Wang Songshan quickly mediated, "Ruoshui, now that you're back, you won't leave, right?" "It depends on the situation." In Wang Ruoshui's heart, she naturally didn't want to leave, but women were reserved. Especially in front of Fang Tian, she would not say anything definite. "Then don't leave." Fang Tian was delighted when he heard that Wang Ruoshui did not directly refuse. He was also a cunning old fox. When he was young, he was blinded by the so-called single-minded love. Naturally, he would not make such a low-level mistake now. Since Wang Ruoshui did not firmly say that she wanted to leave, Fang Tian directly climbed up the pole. What does it have to do with you whether I leave or not? Wang Ruoshui glared at Fang Tian. Fang Tian was not annoyed at all. Before, Wang Ruoshui did not say a word to him and acted as if he did not exist. At this time, it was already a big improvement for her to talk to him, so no matter what Wang Ruoshui said, Fang Tian was very happy. You haven't been to China yet, right? Shall I take you around? Fang Tian said with a smile. Sorry, I have been there in the past few years. Wang Ruoshui said faintly, directly choking Fang Tian's words. That doesn't matter. We can travel around the world and go to other places. Fang Tian didn't know what thin skin was at this moment. If he couldn't grasp this opportunity, he would probably be laughed to death by Yang Ming when he returned. Let's talk about it later. Wang Ruoshui frowned and seemed to be annoyed by Fang Tian's nagging. She turned to Wang Songshan and said, Is my room still there? I'm a little tired. I need to rest for a while. Fang Tian directly ignored Wang Ruoshui's frowning expression. Although Wang Ruoshui's attitude was still bad, a sentence of, let's talk about it later, could express most of her thoughts. If she really didn't want to have anything to do with Fang Tian, then she could just refuse directly. She wouldn't say ambiguous words like, let's talk about it later. It's still there. I'll send you there. Wang Songshan stood up, and Fang Tian quickly got up and prepared to send Wang Ruoshui out. No need. I can find it myself. Wang Ruoshui took a deep breath. Her heart was in a mess now. Originally, she came back this time just to attend her niece's engagement ceremony. However, was this really the case? Wang Ruoshui shook her head. Perhaps, deep in her heart, she still wanted to see Fang Tian, but she didn't know what to do when she saw him. Should I hate him, ignore him, or? Wang Ruoshui had worked hard to train her skills. She wanted to kill Fang Tian, this ungrateful guy, when she came back. However, somehow, it inexplicably became a competition with Fang Tian's apprentice. Even Wang Ruoshui couldn't figure out where her unconstrained thoughts came from. When she returned to the family, she valiantly asked the disciples of the butterfly family to pass a message to Fang Tian to let him come out. At that moment, her idea was to kill Fang Tian to wash away the shame of the engagement. However, Fang Tian wasn't the only one who came out of the butterfly castle. Her brother, Wang Songshan, and Fang Tian's apprentice, Yang Ming, were also there. This short chaos disrupted Wang Ruoshui's original plan. After hearing that Yang Ming was also here to break off the engagement, Wang Ruoshui directly transferred her resentment to Yang Ming. After following Wang Songshan and Fang Tian into the butterfly castle, the previous thought of killing Fang Tian disappeared. It turned into an indescribable and very complicated feeling. Do I really want to kill him? It doesn't seem like that. Wang Ruoshui listened to Fang Tian's messy words, and her heart became very messy, so she wanted to be alone. This. Wang Songshan hesitated and stopped his footsteps. Wang Ruoshui had lived here for more than 20 years. She was very familiar with the terrain of the butterfly castle. Old man Fang, I really didn't expect Ruoshui to come back. Wang Songshan sighed, but his expression was indescribably relaxed. Although Fang Tian and he had tacitly not mentioned this matter in the 20 years that Wang Ruoshui had disappeared, it didn't mean that both of them had forgotten the existence of this person. They didn't mention Wang Ruoshui because they were afraid that both of them would be sad when she was mentioned. Secondly, it was because this matter was caused by Fang Tian. If Wang Songshan mentioned it, it would inevitably hurt the friendship between the two of them for many years. But now that Wang Ruoshui had returned, there were no more scruples between the two of them. Fang Tian also seemed particularly excited. This time it may be a double blessing. Wang Songshan was stunned when he heard Fang Tian's so-called double blessing, but he immediately understood what he meant. Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan were a couple, Fang Tian and Wang Ruoshui. Old man Fang, I'm telling you, my sister's happiness for the rest of her life depends on you. Don't let me down this time. Wang Songshan looked at Fang Tian and said with a serious and determined expression. Chapter 1397. Don't worry. Fang Tian smiled. Do you think I will make the same mistake as before? Yeah, wasn't it because of you that we agreed to not limit how many girlfriends your disciple could have? Otherwise, I'm afraid that the tragedy would happen again. Wang Songshan sighed. However, why were you so stubborn at that time? Although there was no such rule at the beginning, my father would not have disagreed if you insisted on taking Ruoshui away. AI, don't mention it. I can't keep up with it. Fang Tian waved his hand with a red face. If I had accepted Yang Ming as an apprentice earlier, I'm afraid I wouldn't have made this mistake. Your apprentice is quite fickle. Wang Songshan frowned. If he hadn't been with Yan Yan, maybe I would have agreed to break off the engagement this time. With so many women, I'm afraid Yan Yan will be bullied. Come on. Fang Tian rolled his eyes. Who dares to bully her? I didn't marry Ruoshui back then because I was afraid that she would kill my wife if she didn't agree with her. That's true. Wang Songshan nodded. Yan Yan is an assassin. Fang Tian smiled and didn't say anything, but he disagreed in his heart. Fang Tian was very clear about his apprentice's ability. He believed that he could handle these things. Right, do you think we should tell Ruoshui about our plan to break off the engagement? Fang Tian suddenly remembered that Wang Ruoshui seemed to want to intervene in this farce and compete with Yang Ming. He quickly asked Wang Songshan. This. Wang Songshan also hesitated. Originally, this farce of breaking off the engagement was going to end when Yang Ming and Wang Xiaoyan met, but now it seemed that there were waves again. Wang Ruoshui also wanted to participate. I think it's better not to tell her first. It's quite interesting to have her involved. With her involved. I'm afraid that the more she gets involved, the more complicated this matter will be. Fang Tian smiled bitterly. No, her purpose is to let Yang Ming marry Yan Yan anyway. Wang Songshan said. Bored, Yang Ming lay in bed and watched TV for a while. Suddenly, the intercom in the room rang. Yang Ming hesitated for a moment before picking up the phone. Hello? Mr. Yang? Master asked me to inform you that the banquet is ready. Please go to the dining hall on the first floor of the castle. A respectful voice came from the phone. Is dinner ready? He was actually that fast. Yang Ming didn't think that this banquet was specially prepared for him. It was probably because Wang Ruoshui had suddenly returned to the family, and Wang Songshan wanted to celebrate. He would just be an accompaniment if he went. Since Yang Ming didn't want to have anything to do with the Wang family, he didn't want to see Wang Ruoshui again at this time. This woman was obviously hurt in her heart and vented her resentment on him. Yang Ming didn't want to bear the sin of Fang Tian, so the wise choice at the moment was to stay in the room. Sorry, I'm not very hungry, so I won't go. This. The Wang family disciple who made the call was stunned after hearing Yang Ming's words. He didn't expect this to happen. In his opinion, it was normal to inform guests to attend a banquet, especially this kind of formal banquet. How could the guests refuse? However, Yang Ming refused, which made the Wang family disciple not know what to do for a while. I'm not feeling very well. Help me apologize to Uncle Wang. Yang Ming didn't wait for the person on the other side of the phone to speak. He continued to say, okay, that's it. I want to rest. After that, he hung up the phone. Yang Ming smiled bitterly. I'm obviously full of energy, but I have to pretend to be sick. This is all because of that woman, Wang Ruoshui. Forget it, I'll bear with it. I won't starve to death even if I don't eat a meal. Yang Ming changed a few channels on the TV and stopped at an entertainment program to watch. Not long after, there was a knock on the door and a hearty laugh outside the door. It was Wang Songshan. Yang Ming, little friend, I heard that you're not feeling well. Yang Ming was stunned at first, then he smiled bitterly and touched his nose. Isn't my face too big? The family master of the butterfly family has personally come to visit me? At this moment, no matter how arrogant Yang Ming was, he had to get up and walk to the door of the room. He opened the door and looked at Wang Songshan and Fang Tian who were standing outside the room. He said helplessly, maybe it's the time difference. I'm a little tired. When Yang Ming spoke, he looked behind Fang Tian and Wang Songshan. He was relieved when he didn't see Wang Ruoshui. Yang Ming didn't want to meet this unreasonable woman face to face. It's like this. Wang Songshan glanced at Yang Ming and smiled meaningfully. He could also see that Yang Ming was fine at all. What he said at the moment was just an act, but he didn't expose it. Eat something and you'll feel better. Fang Tian also saw Yang Ming's thoughts at this moment. Let's go, kid. You're a man. Don't be fussy about small things. Small things? Is this a small thing? Yang Ming was speechless. If he didn't marry his niece, he wouldn't let him leave. If he lost, he would have to continue to stay here and cultivate until he won. This rule is simply overbearing. Uncle Wang, I want to ask, is Senior Wang Ruoshui also downstairs? Yang Ming hesitated and asked. Wang Songshan and Fang Tian looked at each other. They seemed to have guessed that Yang Ming might ask this question. Wang Songshan gave Fang Tian a look. Fang Tian coughed twice and said, Ruoshui is indeed downstairs, but she is a very nice person. You can rest assured that she won't make things difficult for you. Nice person? Yang Ming rolled his eyes and thought, it's only in your heart that she is a nice person, right? However, since it had already been said to this point, Yang Ming really couldn't refuse anymore. After all, Fang Tian had already spoken. When they were at home, his relationship with Fang Tian was like that of a teacher and a friend. It was no problem to joke around. However, when they were outside, Yang Ming still had to give Fang Tian face. Otherwise, he would be laughed at for not knowing the rules. So since Fang Tian had already said so, Yang Ming had to say, okay, then I'll eat a little less together. Yang Ming followed Fang Tian and Wang Songshan out of the room, went downstairs, and walked in the direction of the restaurant. Along the way, the Wang family's disciples put down the things in their hands and stood respectfully on the side. After they passed by, they continued to be busy with the things in their hands. Right, Uncle Wang, your daughter didn't come, right? Yang Ming suddenly thought of a very important question. That was, would Wang Songshan's daughter, his fiancée, come to this banquet? If she also came, he should leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, with Wang Ruoshui present, she might do something whimsical. Oh, she's not at home. Wang Songshan waved his hand and said, she went out to buy things and will only come back tomorrow. Yang Ming secretly breathed a sigh of relief. If they could avoid meeting, it would be better not to meet for the time being, so as not to embarrass each other. As for Wang Ruoshui's side, he hoped that Fang Tian could persuade her as soon as possible to stop the competition. In the restaurant, there was no sign of Wang Ruoshui. Yang Ming looked around. Maybe she hadn't come yet. Yang Ming's nervous mood eased a little. He followed Fang Tian and Wang Songshan to a luxurious round table in the restaurant. Uncle Wang, can I sit between the two of you? Yang Ming hesitated and asked. Since Wang Songshan's daughter was not here, there were only 4 people eating this meal together. If Wang Songshan and Fang Tian sat next to each other, then Yang Ming would inevitably sit with Wang Ruoshui no matter which side he sat on. That was why Yang Ming made this request. If it were another occasion and place, Yang Ming's request would be too much. After all, sitting between the 2 elders was like he was the guest of honor. However, there were only 4 people eating now. There was no priority at all. Yang Ming took the liberty to make this request. Fang Tian and Wang Songshan naturally understood the current situation. One of them was Wang Ruoshui's brother, and the other was Wang Ruoshui's lover. Wang Ruoshui had been away from home for more than 20 years. Both of them were very close. Yang Ming's request was exactly what they wanted. Chapter 1398. After the three of them sat down, they saw a woman in white slowly walking into the dining room. It was Wang Ruoshui. However, she had changed her clothes. When she came, she wore a set of tight black clothes. She looked like an assassin who had come to provoke them. It was no wonder that the outer disciples of the Wang clan thought that she was here to cause trouble. However, Wang Ruoshui did not bring any luggage when she came, so he did not know where this set of white clothes came from. However, when Wang Ruoshui approached, Yang Ming obviously found that the clothes seemed to be old. The creases on it were very serious. It was probably Wang Ruoshui's clothes before she left the Wang family many years ago. Now, she found it again and wore it. Yang Ming did not say anything, but he obviously noticed a nervous breathing sound beside him. Yang Ming did not turn his head, but he could see the situation beside him with his special ability. The person whose breathing became rapid was Fang Tian. He clenched his fists and looked at Wang Ruoshui not far in front of him with excitement. Wang Songshan, on the other hand, did not have any special expression. He was only slightly surprised that Wang Ruoshui had changed her clothes. Perhaps he had the same idea as Yang Ming at the moment. After the surprise, he thought that this might be Wang Ruoshui's clothes before she left home. Wang Songshan also felt strange about Fang Tian's strange mood. It was not the first time he saw Wang Ruoshui. The three of them had talked in the study for a long time, and everyone's emotions had already calmed down. If this was the first time Fang Tian saw Wang Ruoshui, then his expression at the moment was reasonable. However, when they were in the study, Fang Tian and Wang Ruoshui had already communicated. Although the relationship between the two was not ideal, it was not to the extent of showing such an excited expression. To say that Fang Tian was fascinated by Wang Ruoshui at the moment. Although this was possible, Wang Songshan did not believe it. Even if Wang Ruoshui at the moment did not look like she was in her 40s, but like a beautiful young woman in her 30s. However, Fang Tian was also in his 40s or 50s at the moment. Even if he saw a beauty, he would not be so excited, right? Moreover, if he wanted to be excited, he would have been excited long ago. Why would he wait until now? Just as Yang Ming and Wang Songshan were puzzled, Fang Tian slowly stood up and walked toward Wang Ruoshui. He murmured something, but it seemed that his excitement had not calmed down. Ruoshui, 25 years ago, when we first met, you were wearing this white dress. Fang Tian stood in front of Wang Ruoshui and slowly said. Yang Ming and Wang Songshan were stunned when they heard Fang Tian's words. They immediately understood why Fang Tian was so excited at this moment. It turned out that when the two of them first met, Wang Ruoshui was wearing this dress. No wonder Fang Tian would lose his composure like this. Yang Ming didn't know much about the past, so he naturally didn't understand these things. As for Wang Songshan, although he was present at the scene 25 years ago, he was Wang Ruoshui's brother after all, not her lover. So, he didn't care about what clothes Wang Ruoshui wore, so it was normal for him not to remember. Really? I don't remember. Wang Ruoshui responded faintly to Fang Tian. As if she was afraid that Fang Tian wouldn't believe her, she added, the previous clothes were a little dirty and uncomfortable to wear, so I casually found one. I planned to wear this tattered dress once and throw it away. Yang Ming and Wang Songshan couldn't help but smile bitterly at the same time. How could Wang Ruoshui tell such a clumsy lie? How could it be so coincidental to randomly find one? Yang Ming and Wang Songshan could tell the lie, so could Fang Tian. His expression was the same as Yang Ming and Wang Songshan's. He smiled bitterly at first, then said, Really? I'm also wearing the same clothes from that year. Nonsense. The one you wore back then was also a white suit. Wang Ruoshui looked at the gray cashmere coat on Fang Tian and frowned. However, when she saw Fang Tian's weird smile, Wang Ruoshui's face stiffened. A red glow rushed to the tip of her ears. She snorted, "How would I know what you wear? What does it have to do with me what you wear?" After Yang Ming heard Fang Tian's words, he almost slapped the table and exclaimed that he was indeed his master. Like disciple, like master. Isn't this my usual trick? Fang Tian actually used it to perfection. With just a few words, Wang Ruoshui fell for it. Even Wang Songshan looked at Fang Tian with admiration. He secretly said in his heart, "I haven't seen him for a few years. Old man Fang's pickup skills have become much better. If it was like this in the past, it wouldn't have created such a tragedy." Looking at Yang Ming's secret thumbs up, Fang Tian smiled and looked at Wang Ruoshui with thick skin. "Well, no matter what you wear, you still have to eat. Ms. Wang Ruoshui, please sit." Fang Tian helped Wang Ruoshui pull out a chair as he spoke. Wang Ruoshui snorted faintly and didn't say anything. She sat on the chair pulled out by Fang Tian, and Fang Tian sat next to Wang Ruoshui with a smile. "Ha, this is also a reunion meal for us." Wang Songshan knew that the atmosphere would be awkward at this moment, so he mediated, "We haven't held a family banquet for a long time. This restaurant is a lot quieter." Family banquet? Who is their family? Wang Ruoshui glanced at Fang Tian and Yang Ming faintly and retorted indifferently. Yang Ming was basically immune to this woman who had been hurt in menopause. He was too lazy to argue with her. This woman's identity was special. She was the aunt of his fiancée whom he had never met. She might also become his future master's wife. Therefore, Yang Ming would not offend this kind of person. It was best to stay away from her. Fang Tian naturally knew that Wang Ruoshui's words were directed at him. As for Yang Ming, he was just an innocent bystander. He touched his chin, but he couldn't refute. He could only continue to ask Wang Songshan for help. Wang Songshan looked at Fang Tian's pitiful look, and he was very happy in his heart. Wang Songshan had a lot of opinions about Fang Tian because of Wang Ruoshui's incident. However, because of their many years of friendship, Wang Songshan couldn't cut ties with Fang Tian. But when there was a chance, the two began to bicker. So, Wang Songshan was still very happy to see Fang Tian suffer now. However, this time, Wang Songshan had to help Fang Tian out of the situation. If it were other things, Wang Songshan would definitely be happy to see Fang Tian suffer. He might even help others to mock Fang Tian, but this time was different. If Fang Tian and Wang Ruoshui could be a couple, then Wang Songshan's knot for many years would be untied. He would have nothing to worry about when he saw his sister's happiness. Of course, if Wang Ruoshui really hated Fang Tian at this moment, maybe Wang Songshan would help his sister continue to attack Fang Tian. However, Wang Songshan was not stupid. He could see that Wang Ruoshui only had deep resentment towards Fang Tian. She still couldn't let go of Fang Tian in her heart, so Wang Songshan didn't mind being a peacemaker. He knew that Wang Ruoshui's sarcasm towards Fang Tian at this moment was not sincere. It was nothing more than a woman's face. Back then, Fang Tian heartlessly broke off the engagement, and her face was ruined. How could this not be untied just like that? Although she still had a good impression of Fang Tian in her heart, there must be a suitable platform for her to let go of the dissatisfaction in her heart. Wang Songshan would smooth things over at this time. He believed that Wang Ruoshui would gain enough face and be able to accept Fang Tian. This was also what he was happy to see. So when he saw Fang Tian asking for help, he helped him out. "Sister, although Fang Tian and I are not brothers, we are closer than blood brothers. He has long been a part of our family. And this little friend Yang Ming, before the engagement was broken off, he was also my son-in-law in name. He could barely attend the family banquet. Break off the engagement? You still want to break off the engagement?" Wang Ruoshui's face was cold, and she looked at Yang Ming coldly. Yang Ming thought, this Wang Songshan, why did he drag me into this for no reason? Even if Wang Ruoshui was sarcastic towards me, I didn't care much. However, he mentioned the matter of breaking off the engagement again, which provoked Wang Ruoshui's anger for no reason. However, since he had been named, Yang Ming knew that it was useless to retreat at this moment. He had to bite the bullet and said, Senior Wang Ruoshui, you don't know the inside story. I'm afraid that your niece is not in favor of this marriage, right? Chapter 1399. How do you know whether my niece approves or not? Wang Ruoshui sneered, moreover, our butterfly family is considered a well-known top family in Europe. How can we keep our face if we break off the engagement? This. Yang Ming sighed secretly. He knew that he couldn't reason with Wang Ruoshui with common sense. This woman's heart was abnormal, or it could be said that she was very stubborn. After Fang Tian broke off the engagement once, she became extremely sensitive to breaking off the engagement. However, she initially rejected the engagement between her and Fang Tian. After meeting Fang Tian and communicating with him, Wang Ruoshui fell hopelessly in love with Fang Tian. Therefore, in her opinion, as long as her niece and Yang Ming met, this marriage would be successful. Yang Ming was making all kinds of excuses and breaking off the engagement without even meeting them. He simply didn't put the butterfly family in his eyes. Let me tell you, you have to agree to this engagement even if you don't want to. You should think about how to win against me. Wang Ruoshui scolded Yang Ming mercilessly. Senior Wang Ruoshui, aren't you making things difficult for me? Yang Ming was really helpless. Since his debut, this was the first time he felt that he couldn't reason with a soldier. If the person in front of him wasn't Wang Songshan's sister and old man Fang's old lover, Yang Ming might really make a move until she changed her mind. But now, Yang Ming knew that he couldn't be ruthless to Wang Ruoshui. Although Yang Ming felt that he was already much better than the average assassin, facing an old pervert like Fang Tian, Yang Ming could only be beaten up. What's more, there's still Wang Songshan. If I bully Wang Ruoshui, can he sit back and do nothing? I'm afraid that in the end, the situation will become 3 against 1. Yang Ming felt terrified just thinking about it. This wasn't something he could bear at all. I don't know if I'm making things difficult or not. However, I have already said this. I believe your master will not object. Wang Ruoshui glanced at Fang Tian when she said this. Cough cough. Fang Tian coughed twice. There was a trace of cold sweat on his forehead. He turned to look at Yang Ming. That Yang Ming, why don't you marry Ruoshui's niece? You see that Ruoshui is so beautiful, her niece definitely won't be bad, right? Yang Ming rolled his eyes and thought to himself, I knew this old fart was unreliable. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have followed him no matter what. Isn't this just looking for trouble? Sigh. Yang Ming sighed inwardly, then, may I ask Senior Wang Ruoshui, if I beat you, I will marry your niece. If I lose, I will stay here and continue to cultivate until I beat you. But what if we're tied? A draw? Wang Ruoshui was slightly stunned and couldn't help but laugh. She had lived in seclusion in the mountains for many years, and she was rescued by a mysterious senior who taught her martial arts. Wang Ruoshui felt that she wasn't much worse than Fang Tian. In her opinion, Yang Ming was a young man in his 20s. If she didn't deliberately let him win, it was impossible for Yang Ming to win. Therefore, a draw was simply impossible. Why? Yang Ming saw Wang Ruoshui's somewhat playful expression, and his heart couldn't help but sink slightly. Could it be that this woman has some trump card? That's impossible. Wang Ruoshui said faintly. Her words were full of absolute confidence. Impossible? Yang Ming looked at Wang Ruoshui's conceited look and took a deep breath. Maybe, but Senior Wang Ruoshui, I have a presumptuous request. I don't know if you dare to agree? Presumptuous request? In that case, why are you still saying it? Wang Ruoshui smiled as if she saw through Yang Ming's purpose. You still ask me if I dare to agree. Don't you know that your provocation is very clumsy? Yang Ming's face was slightly red, but he had no intention of backing down. At this time, he couldn't back down. If he took a step forward, he might seize his own interests. If he took a step back, he could only be at the mercy of others. Since Senior Wang Ruoshui is so confident that we can't fight to a draw, then I would like to ask Senior Wang Ruoshui to promise me that if we really fight to a draw, then you will let me leave. Yang Ming ignored Wang Ruoshui's sarcasm and expressed his thoughts. Oh. After Wang Ruoshui listened to Yang Ming's words, she looked at Yang Ming with interest. You have a lot of requests. However, do you think it is possible for you to fight to a draw with me? Since Senior Wang Ruoshui thinks it is impossible, then it is fine to agree with this junior, right? Yang Ming quickly followed up and said, Senior Wang Ruoshui, this junior can guarantee that if the result is that I lose or win, I will obediently get engaged to your niece and will not have any more objections. Hehe, you have learned to make requests. Wang Ruoshui looked at Yang Ming coldly, but in her heart, she was calculating the request made by Yang Ming. The more Wang Ruoshui looked at Yang Ming, the more she felt that it was impossible for him to win against her. In that case, there was no harm in agreeing with him, lest he was unconvinced. As long as she won against him, he would not be nagging anymore. Even if this kid was really talented and was really better than her, she could just show weakness and lose. There was no possibility of a draw. So when Wang Ruoshui thought of this, she made up her mind, well, if I don't agree with you, I will force you to get engaged. You will definitely be unconvinced. In that case, I will agree with you. However, you must remember the promise you made. Don't make other requests when you lose. Then, I will not agree again. Don't worry, Senior Wang Ruoshui. This junior only has this one request. If it really can't be a draw, then this junior will naturally accept Senior Wang Ruoshui's instructions willingly. Although Yang Ming's words were very firm, he was also uneasy in his heart. However, this was already the maximum he could fight for. Yang Ming also knew that he was now in other people's territory and surrounded by their people. Even if Wang Ruoshui did not agree to his request, he had no other choice. Now, at least there was a glimmer of hope. Although Yang Ming himself was not sure, it was better than the previous situation. AI, Fang Tian has now become Wang Ruoshui's person. It seems that I can only rely on myself. Well, then tomorrow morning, we will meet at the martial arts field. Wang Ruoshui did not give Yang Ming time to breathe at all. She directly set the time for tomorrow morning. She was also afraid that Yang Ming would come up with a way to deal with it after a long time. Now it seemed that Yang Ming was on her side, but it was hard to say secretly. Maybe he would secretly give some pointers to Yang Ming. Therefore, Wang Ruoshui decided on the time before Fang Tian figured out her background. Since Senior has set the time, this junior will naturally obey. Yang Ming hesitated. Although he also felt that the time was a little rushed, there was no other way. Wang Ruoshui had already taken a step back and agreed to his request. If Yang Ming continued to push his luck, he believed that Wang Ruoshui would definitely be dissatisfied with him. She might not even agree to his previous request. However, Fang Tian and Wang Songzhan did not have any strange expressions on their faces. Anyway, this was just a farce. Even if Yang Ming won, lost, or really fought to a draw, it did not matter because the final trump card was Wang Xiaoyan and Yang Ming. The two of them had already slept together. What was the point of canceling the marriage? Yang Ming also secretly glanced at Fang Tian, but found that this old guy was still calm. Yang Ming knew that he could not put his hopes on him. If he consulted him, he might deliberately lead him to a dead end in order to please Wang Ruoshui. Then, see you tomorrow. Wang Ruoshui appreciated Yang Ming's courage to calmly agree. Chapter 1400. If Yang Ming was a coward and stuttered, Wang Ruoshui would have to reconsider the marriage between Yang Ming and her niece. How could her niece marry a good-for-nothing? If Yang Ming really begged or fought for some conditions, then Wang Ruoshui was really ready to give up on Yang Ming. How could such a person be worthy of her niece? Without the courage and spirit of a man, Wang Ruoshui would naturally look down on Yang Ming. But now that she heard Yang Ming agree to her request so readily, Wang Ruoshui also looked up at Yang Ming. If Yang Ming knew Wang Ruoshui's thoughts, he would probably be dumbfounded. If Yang Ming's special ability worked at this time, perhaps Yang Ming would really pretend to be a coward and let Wang Ruoshui give up on him directly. But unfortunately, Yang Ming's ability could not be used at any time. If Yang Ming knew that agreeing so readily was also a mistake, he would probably regret it, right? Well, since we have agreed on the time of the competition, let's eat first. Wang Songshan mediated and laughed twice. Then he said to the Wang family disciple standing not far away, "Serve the dishes." Yes. The Wang family disciple who was waiting respectfully by the side quickly responded and left the restaurant. Not long afterward, plates of exquisite dishes full of exotic delicacies were served on the table. These dishes should have been prepared in advance, and the last step was to put them in the pot. So as long as Wang Songshan ordered, they could be served quickly. "We are all family, so we won't drink." Wang Songshan was not addicted to alcohol, and with Wang Ruoshui present, it was not good for him and Fang Tian to drink. After that, Wang Songshan took the lead in picking up a dish with his chopsticks. After that, Wang Ruoshui and Fang Tian also began to eat. Although Yang Ming was very hungry, it was not good to eat in this situation. He just buried himself in the two dishes in front of him and did not move the table. "Ruoshui, it's been a long time since you tasted the noodles at home, right?" Wang Songshan smiled and said, "The dishes on the table today are all made by Chef Maitzhan. They are what you liked to eat the most when you were young." "Uncle Mitzan? He's still the head chef?" Wang Ruoshui was a little surprised when she heard this. A look of reminiscence appeared on her face. He has been the manager of the restaurant for a long time. Now the head chef at home is manager Maichan's apprentice. He has inherited Maichan's skills. However, when manager Maitzhan heard that you were back, he was so happy that he personally cooked because he knew that you liked to eat his dishes the most. Wang Songshan explained. "That's right, so many years have passed in the blink of an eye. Uncle Maitzhan, who was in his prime back then, should be 70 years old now, right? I wonder if his body is still strong?" Wang Ruoshui sighed. "Fortunately, his mental state is good. You can go and see him after dinner. He misses you very much, but he is busy in the kitchen at the moment," said Wang Songshan. "I will definitely go." Wang Ruoshui nodded. "Who else is left in the family?" "AI. Wang Songshan sighed. "Some people have passed away. Some people are old and have returned to their hometown. I am afraid that besides Maitzhan, who has never married in his life, there is only Butler Mu left in the Butterfly Castle." "Uncle Mu, is he already a butler?" Wang Ruoshui nodded. "I was wondering why no one recognized me when I came back this time. Yeah, otherwise, you wouldn't be blocked at the door." Wang Songshan said, "If Butler Mu hadn't accompanied your niece Yen Xiao Dai to go shopping in town, he wouldn't have blocked you at the door if he was at home." Wang Songshan thought that it was a close call. He almost said Yen when he wasn't paying attention. If he hadn't suddenly remembered that he had to hide his daughter's name from Yang Ming, he would have been exposed. So, he quickly changed his words to Xiao Dai. Xiao Dai was Wang Xiaoyan's nickname. When Wang Xiaoyan was not born, Wang Songshan's father gave it to her. However, Wang Songshan felt that the name was a bit rustic, so he changed it to Wang Xiaoyan. In the past few years, Wang Xiaoyan had grown up, so Wang Songshan changed it to Yen instead of Xiao Dai. However, when Wang Ruoshui left home, Wang Xiaoyan had not yet been born, so what she knew was the name that her father had already given her, Butterfly Wang. It was the first time that Yang Ming heard the name of his fiancée. Is she called Butterfly Wang? This butterfly family is really unique. Even their names are related to butterflies. Just as Wang Songshan and Wang Ruoshui were reminiscing about the past, a disciple of the butterfly family walked into the restaurant quickly and stopped in front of Wang Songshan with a dignified expression. This person was the disciple of the butterfly family who was in charge of patrolling outside the castle, Wang Kezhao. Family master, this disciple has something to report. Wang Kezhao lowered his body and whispered in Wang Songshan's ear. Wang Kezhao, what's the matter? Wang Songshan remembered Wang Kezhao's name, but he was a little dissatisfied that Wang Kezhao had disturbed their meal at this moment. After all, he had just recalled the past with Wang Ruoshui, and was interrupted when they were happy. No one would like this feeling. However, Wang Songshan did not show a dissatisfied expression because he also knew that in the butterfly castle, these things were usually reported to Butler Mu by the disciples. Today, Butler Mu was not at home, so these disciples could only report to the family master. Family master, young Master Good of the Douglas family is at the entrance of the butterfly castle. Wang Kezhao said hurriedly. Oh. What is he doing here at this time? Wang Songshan frowned. Wang Songshan was well aware of Good's thoughts, but his sister, Wang Ruoshui, had just returned today. How could he have the mood to deal with Good? This disciple is not sure. Wang Kezhao shook his head. Even if he guessed some clues in his heart, he would not speak carelessly. After all, as a disciple of the butterfly family, he had very strict discipline and did not allow these people to gossip. Young Master Good of the Douglas family liked Wang Xiaoyan, the eldest daughter of the butterfly family. This was an open secret in the upper class. How could these disciples of the butterfly family not know about it? In fact, there was no need to ask why young Master Good came here at this time. His intention was already obvious. He was here for Yang Ming. The news of Wang Xiaoyan's upcoming engagement had been spread from Wang Songshan's mouth. Everyone in the local upper class knew about it, and young Master Good was no exception. His arrival at this time was definitely directly related to Wang Xiaoyan's engagement. You tell him that there are important guests at home. I am having a meal with the guests and have no time to receive him. If he has nothing important to do, ask him to come back another day. Wang Songshan hesitated and instructed Wang Kezhao. Although young Master Good also had a strong background, he was only a junior. It was normal for Wang Songshan to not see him. There was nothing rude about it. Of course, if the family master of the Douglas family came, then Wang Songshan would have to personally receive him even if he was unwilling. Family master, this disciple had already told him beforehand that the family master was having a meal, so this disciple could go and inform him. However, young Master Good didn't listen to this disciple at all and directly rushed into the fort. Although the disciples at the door were desperately trying to stop him, I'm afraid. Wang Kezhao said carefully. Although he didn't finish his words, he believed that Wang Songshan understood his words. Wang Songshan frowned after listening. Wang Kezhao didn't finish his words, but there was no need to say it. Wang Songshan certainly understood what he was going to say. He waved his hand to indicate that he understood. This matter was a bit tricky. Wang Songshan certainly didn't expect the disciples at the door to be able to stop Good. Not to mention that these disciples were afraid of Good's identity and didn't dare to really fight with him. Even if they really fought, they were not Good's opponents. Therefore, if Good wanted to break in, these people would not be able to stop him at all. Just as Wang Songshan was pondering, there was a noise at the entrance of the restaurant. Then, a white man strode into the restaurant. Behind this white man were several men wearing the butterfly family's disciple costumes. At this moment, they were helplessly chasing the white man with bitter faces. Chapter 1401. This Caucasian man was the eldest young master of the Douglas family, as well as the first successor of the Douglas family. In other words, if there were no accidents, the next leader of the Douglas family would be this young master, Good. However, even so, Wang Songshan was very dissatisfied with his unreasonable behavior of suddenly breaking into the restaurant in the Butterfly Castle. Others were afraid of the Douglas family, but Wang Songshan was not. On the contrary, the Douglas family was very afraid of the Butterfly family. This was natural. No matter how prominent the family was, they would be afraid of a family like the Butterfly family that played with assassins. No one would complain about their long life. Once they became enemies with the Butterfly family was full of assassins. Many families were not afraid of open swords and spears, but these families were no match for the Butterfly family when it came to assassination. The Douglas family was the underworld family of Allure Town, where the Butterfly Castle was located. The current family master, Good's father, Elt Douglas, was the godfather of Allure Town. This kind of underworld family would inevitably be a little arrogant, but it was nothing in Wang Songshan's eyes. Good, what are you doing here? Wang Songshan looked at Good with a gloomy face. Even Elt wouldn't dare to be so presumptuous. Uncle Wang, please don't be angry. I mean no harm. Good spoke Chinese fluently, but his tone was a little strange. It seemed that this young master was not as reckless and idiotic as he looked. This was Yang Ming's initial impression of him. Although Yang Ming did not know what this Good was, he guessed that the identity of a person who dared to break into the Butterfly Castle was definitely not ordinary. It could also be seen from Wang Songshan's attitude towards Good. Since Wang Songshan did not turn hostile on the spot and teach Good a lesson, it meant that the power behind Good was not ordinary. However, Yang Ming originally thought that even if the power behind Good was strong, this kid was just a reckless idiot. In any case, it was stupid to dare to break into the Butterfly family, even if the power behind him was strong. However, after hearing Good's fluent Chinese, Yang Ming changed his opinion. Since this guy could speak so many languages, he didn't seem to be a retard. In that case, there should be a reason why he barged in at this moment. No malice? Wang Songshan sneered, if you have malicious intentions, do you think you can still stand here and talk? Wang Songshan's rude tone made Good's expression slightly stagnate. However, he also understood that his approach had indeed angered Wang Songshan. I'm sorry, Uncle Wang, but I have no choice. Good lowered his head and said apologetically. Well, no matter what you have to do, I have an important guest today. I don't have time for you. Wang Songshan waved his hand. You can come back tomorrow. Good understood. He knew that Wang Songshan was asking him to leave. However, he gritted his teeth. Since he was already here, he might as well be presumptuous once more. He thought that even if his father knew the reason why he was here, he would not scold him. Uncle Wang, I heard that little butterfly is getting engaged. Good took a deep breath, raised his head, and looked at Wang Songshan with piercing eyes. That's right. Your Douglas family should have also received the news. Wang Songshan secretly said in his heart. Sure enough, it was for this matter. It seems that my guess is right. However, I am afraid that only this matter can make a young man lose his mind and do such an outrageous thing to break into the Butterfly Castle. I heard that little butterfly's fiancé is someone she has never met before. Good saw that Wang Songshan had answered his question and did not ask him to leave. He was relieved. As long as Wang Songshan did not expel him on the spot, he could reason with him. This is an internal matter of our Butterfly family. You don't need to know. Wang Songshan said faintly, Good, if you are here to congratulate, then I welcome you. However, if you are here to cause trouble, then I am sorry. No matter what my relationship with your father is, I will not give him face. You will get the punishment you deserve. Good's heart shuddered. He naturally knew the importance of the Butterfly family in Allure Town's upper-class society. It could be said that the Butterfly family was a transcendent family. Any family, including his own Douglas family, wanted to have a good relationship with them. Although his family was also very prominent, and other families would also curry favor with him, this would not happen to the butterfly family. However, Good had made up his mind this time. He would rather anger Wang Songshan than back down. He could not back down when it came to matters of the heart. "Uncle Wang, you don't have to scare me. I am a man." Good said, "Please let me finish my words. I will accept whatever punishment you want to punish me later." Wang Songshan was slightly stunned. He did not expect Good to be so stubborn. For a moment, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. He did not know what to say. However, Good did not wait for Wang Songshan to speak. He continued, "Uncle Wang, what era is this? Such a hasty engagement is unfair to little butterfly. Will she be happy if she marries someone she has never met? It is not up to you to judge whether she is happy or not." Wang Songshan said faintly. "If I'm not wrong, Xiao Dai is also very against this marriage, right?" Good continued, "Uncle Wang, you don't have to deny it. We all know that little butterfly ran away from home to avoid marriage. This shows her attitude. Everyone has a time when they are young and frivolous. Now she is back." Wang Songshan's tone was still flat. He was not angry and did not have the slightest emotion. "No, I believe that Xiao Dai will never like her fiancé. They don't have any feelings for each other." Good argued. "Good, in fact, you have said so much because you want me to give up the engagement." Wang Songshan glanced at Good and said, "I know exactly what you are thinking." Good's face turned red when his thoughts were exposed, but he still gritted his teeth and said, "Uncle Wang, since you know, please fulfill my wish. I am not sure if my daughter likes her fiancé." Wang Songshan said, "But Good, what I want to tell you is that she also has no feelings for you." Wang Songshan's words made Good's originally pale face become even paler in an instant. This sentence poked at the deepest scar in Good's heart. "Indeed, Butterfly Wang does not like me." Good was very clear. Even when the children of the upper class gathered together, everyone half-jokingly said that he and Butterfly Wang were a couple. In fact, Good's heart was very clear that the reason why everyone said so was because they were afraid of the power of the Douglas family. Although he had declared his sovereignty over Butterfly Wang many times, and no one objected to this, it was because other people didn't dare to compete with him. Butterfly Wang did not have that kind of feeling for him. Otherwise, she would have expressed it. However, Good believed that with his perseverance, he would be able to move Butterfly Wang. In Elo Town, only he was worthy of Butterfly Wang. In the absence of any competitors, this kind of match made in heaven would not be difficult for him to conquer Butterfly Wang in the future. Even when Butterfly Wang ran away from home, Good did not lose his confidence because this also represented Butterfly Wang's resistance to the family's arrangement. Moreover, he was not afraid that Butterfly Wang would have feelings for others when she was alone outside because he had already learned about the 3 rules between Wang Songshan and Butterfly Wang through secret channels. During the period when Butterfly Wang was away, she was not allowed to fall in love. Therefore, Good believed that as long as he waited for Butterfly Wang to come back, he would seize the opportunity. Butterfly Wang would rather choose him than the fiancé she had never met, right? Comparing the two, he was still someone that Butterfly Wang did not hate. As for the good feelings, they could be cultivated. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.